so let's go ahead and open up the game box and see how the components are used in play. Before that, man, check out this Slayer art. So we have 7 playable Slayers. On the side of the box here, we've depicted 4 of them. We've got Jameson Marks, Mason Stone, his best friend, Van Wesson, ooh, very formidable, and his wife, Jess Wesson. On the other side, we've got the 3 remaining Slayers. We've got Raiden, Yuriko Asa, his lover, and, well, they're lovers together. It's equal love. And then Damon Dantes. This is the collector's edition as well, so we've also got Dracula on the side, in addition to the Dracula art silhouette on the back of the box, as opposed to Raiden. Let's take a peek inside the box. Okay. I wish it was like a coffin and like a puff of smoke kind of came out, but we play it too often for smoke to be coming out or dust or something. So rulebook set to the side there. We've got 2 reference sheets. One's like a turn flow guide. The other is going to be used in play. It's the pentagram reference sheet, and so we'll touch on that later. Let's set that to the side. We of course have the castle cloak, which is used by Dracula. So he'll be able to build halls, chambers, and spires on these spaces here to basically form his build, so to speak. Set that to the side. We've got the castle starter tile. This is divided into 4 segments. You'll see a yellow dotted line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, excuse me, 5 segments. You'll see a dotted line. There's 4 dotted lines, but 5 segments. And the castle entrance itself is this segment here in the corner with the stairs and the gate into the castle. We'll also have the underground crossroads, which will go right there. And that's how the game will basically be set up to begin play. With the underground crossroads in its locked position. The flip side has a door that actually leads into the castle, but we'll keep it in the locked position as intended. Should be worth noting as well, there is a blue door that leads to the underground here that is open from the start of play. Set those to the side. We've got the Dracula cloak, which coordinates with Dracula's shadows. They are basically his way to defend off the castle from the Slayers. I mean, he can use them offensively, defensively, in a number of ways. So we've got the Bat Meeple here, which is going to be used on this cloak card to track Dracula's essence, which is essentially his soul resource. That's how he can summon monster souls, build rooms onto his keep, and all sorts of other nefarious things to stop the Slayers in their tracks. Set that to the side there. We're going to have then the Vampire Quest cards. When you turn into a vampire, you're going to draw one of these cards. You have to keep it hidden from the other players at the table unless something compels you to reveal it. So you can tell other players anything you want. You can say, hey, I'm on Team Dracula. No, I'm a Slayer. They may or may not believe you, and you can really get some interesting table talk with that. We've got Dracula's trap cards, which are his pool of traps he can use if he is to build the alchemy lab on his castle keep. So he can't deploy traps without building the alchemy lab. So like I said, his build will be completely dependent on what he does over here on the keep. And as you can see, there's 3 and 3. There's basically six total spaces that he can build. There'll be an essence icon for the cost to build 1, 2, 3. He can build he doesn't have to go up one tower and then do the other. He can go back and forth or at his own leisure there. So we've got the trap cards, we've got the Blood Dojo deck. This is used for the solo play mode. So there's 25 cards here, and I want to be very clear that the intended game mode for Dracula's Curse is a 1 versus many game with those all the players being player controlled. So this automates Dracula, which is a completely different experience. This is used for a 1 to 2 player setup, but Dracula's Curse is going to shine best at 1 versus many really meaning 4 players. So 1 Dracula versus 4 Slayers, though it does accommodate 3 to 6 players in the traditional mode. I would say 1 versus 4 really hits that sweet spot though. We've got the Force cards, the Speed cards, the Mind cards, and then all of our Curse cards. We've got the AR tracker tokens here, which I'll speak about in a moment. So once we lift that tray out, we're going to see some more goodies. We've got the Dracula shadows, which as you kind of stack them, they will build Dracula's look. each token has 1/4 of his image, so that way players don't know which token is which. Very important, because on the bottom side of these tokens, or these shadow tokens, is going to be different icons that lead to different effects. So we've got the essence, the curse, the combat, and then the legend shadow with Dracula's portrait. So set those to the side, like a kid on Christmas. I'm just kind of like pushing everything everywhere. We've got the character cards right here. So each character is going to have their attack rating, which is just their general strength, and that's going to be used for all combat purposes. We've got their move rating, so how far they can move, how many rooms they can move on a given turn. They have their character feature here, just below that. They have their team synergy, and then they've got some flavor, some lore, kind of right beneath the name and at the bottom. On the flip side of this card, you're going to have her vampire side. So Dracula's Curse does incorporate some hidden role mechanics. So as I talked about with the Vampire Quest cards, once you turn into a vampire, you're going to draw one of those cards, these cards here, and you're going to have a hidden quest. Okay? Let's flip that back over. We've got the AR trackers here. This was a bonus that wasn't going to be in the box initially, but just to help pace of play and everything, we really wanted to include this. So there's 7 AR trackers, 1 for each Slayer. They all have the same numbers, so it's not, really that important which goes where. However, they all do have the art for the particular Slayer they match up with in the corner here. As well on the back side, it's that character's art and their initial, so you know who it lines up with. So you could simply place it here at the bottom of the character card. And then a minute ago I mentioned these AR trackers, which are on the punch board, which we'll look at in a moment, the punch board itself. But, Jess has a starting attack rating, AR, of 4. So we'll go ahead and just add her little AR tracker there. And now we know, hey, she's got 4. As she gains equipment, gains traits, gains, that attack rating changes, you can just simply follow along. That way you're not having to add up your equipment each turn. All right? Regarding subclasses, we've got 3 for each Slayer, three unique subclasses for each Slayer. They're going to have their initials in the top right-hand corner. So JW for Jess Wesson. She's got 3 unique subclasses she can purchase throughout the game. So once you do that, well, in order to purchase them, you're going to use the soul resource of the game. That's called soul resource for Slayers, which are called blood points. And so it's this little blood-shaped teardrop. And once you kill a monster, you're going to get blood points. That's basically, kind of think of it as experience points as well, but that you spend. You're going to spend the blood points to use abilities or purchase subclasses. And so once you purchase a subclass, you'll simply slot it into your character card. You buy a second one, slot that one in. If you get a third one, boom, all the way. Now, buying all 3 during one playthrough, probably not super likely. However, there are ways to get free subclasses during play, so certainly that can happen if that's what you prioritize using your blood points on. Much like there are 3 unique subclasses for each Slayer, there's actually 3 vampire subclasses as well. So when you're a vampire, you're going to be able to flip those subclass cards over, and you're going to be able to, just like a Slayer, purchase vampire subclasses. Okay, so we've got all that. We've got 7 Slayers, as I said. They each have their own subclasses. The one character that is the outlier here is Raiden. Raiden will start with his subclass already locked in, and he plays very different than the other players because he cannot draw a card at the beginning of his turn, nor can he respawn as a vampire. So once he's dead, he's out of the game. I would say, maybe not a great choice for your first playthrough because it doesn't offer the traditional experience. It's just a very different style for him, and so I would say maybe go someone else, and then if you want to Raiden main after that, go for it. I definitely have some friends that just want to play Raiden every single time. So we'll pop these subclasses back in. We've got the character cards, the combat cards. One thing to be aware of is that we've played with this copy quite a bit, so things aren't in order. So one thing to be aware of is that the red frame cards are going to be bosses. Dracula's going to get to put 2 of those in the combat deck before play starts. Players will not know which 2 bosses he's placed into the deck. We also have these hearts, which are for life, of course. So, as play begins, each Slayer will start with 3 life. So you can totally just, boom, line them up right there. Or on the character card itself, of course. And when you lose a battle, etc., you're going to lose one of those life. And there's ways to gain life as well. We've got all the tiles here. And while we're on the characters, let's just look at one last thing because, just the art is so beautiful. So each of these Slayers is going to have let's pull Jess back. Each of these Slayers is going to have their character token that's going to match the art. It's going to be the profile view, which I love, not only with the castle, but the character art. We really honed in on that homage to Castlevania, which, we hold so near and dear to our heart. And so we've got the Slayer side art, much like there's fresh art for the vampire, there's going to be vampire side art on the other side. If you can't see it on camera, it may not be focusing. If you can't see it on camera, you just have to buy the game and check it out in person because it's worth a look. The bloody tears streaming down Jess Wesson's face, signifying her vampire side, as well as some different complexion, etc. We've got the keep rooms that are built on Dracula's Keep here in the insert as well. So, like I said, you're going to be able to place these here. You spend the essence cost, and then you can build these rooms. Very straightforward there. Finally, we've got the castle tiles. These are going to be, they're going to have colors on the front side here that are going to indicate, on the back side rather, that are going to indicate what floor of the castle they're on. So gold is for the main floor of the castle. Blue, of course, is going to be underground. And you've got the art there signifying and showing where on the castle. And then red is going to be the upper keep. Dracula likewise has the same coordination, and we'll talk about that more in a moment. Let's go ahead and move into the setup of how to play Dracula's Curse. Oh, you thought you could get rid of me that easy, huh? There's actually one more thing I wanted to talk about, which is the punch board. So this is a fresh punch board that'll come in the game box. So you're going to have all these stair tokens here that are going to coordinate to the different floors should you use them during the game. So gold, main level, blue, underground, red, upper keep. You've got these keep rooms that we've discussed that Dracula can build. You've got the AR trackers that we showed. You've got X tokens there in the bottom corner, which will be used on optional challenges. So when a challenge is completed, you'll go ahead and, when an optional challenge is completed, you'll go ahead and use one of these tokens to denote that, hey, can't complete that challenge anymore, it's already done. Finally, there are 2 wormhole tokens that coordinate with a curse card that allow you to open a wormhole, or a portal rather, to connect 2 different parts of the castle. Very useful. Curse cards generally are going to be bad, but there's definitely some winners in there that can improve your odds of defeating Dracula. So let's go ahead and get your game space ready for a playthrough of Dracula's Curse. You're going to start by separating all the castle tiles into their individual floors. So you're going to separate the main floor, underground, and upper keep, and shuffle those piles. They're going to be kept separate. You're going to shuffle the force cards, speed cards, and mind cards. Likewise, the curse cards and the vampire quest cards. The combat card deck will be, we don't need to shuffle that just yet. We'll handle that on Dracula's turn. He's going to get to shuffle some boss monsters into that deck, so we want to avoid unnecessary shuffling now. There's the L-shaped castle starting tile. We're going to go ahead and place that in the middle of the game table. Of course, once again, our space is super compromised as we're trying to film, so normally we'd have a lot of room because the castle itself could get massive, but for sake of example here, we've put this in the middle of the table. We've got the underground crossroads and the locked position situated right there. So there's the locked position, which has no door at the top, and the unlocked position, which has a door at the top. So when the words underground crossroads are face up, you're going to want to ensure that there's no door at the top touching the castle. That's the locked position, signifying that you cannot currently traverse that. Other than that, you're going to want to grab some extra heart tokens, some life tokens, and blood points. And from there, we'll move on to the Slayer setup, as well as Dracula. Okay, so for the Slayer setup, once you've selected your character, you're going to grab their appropriate token, character token. You're going to grab their AR tracker, as well as a little AR piece token here that can be used to actually track it on the tracker. So we're going to notate our character's attack rating, their movement, character feature, and synergy. Van Westen has an attack rating of 5, so we'll just ensure that we've got it in a default state that, hey, he's 5 as far as attack rating goes. And then for Yuriko Asa, she is a 3 on attack rating. She does have the lowest attack rating in the game. However, she's got a lot of, her kit is really powerful, great subclasses, as well as the highest movement speed in the game. So we'll put her at her default 3 for attack rating. Likewise, we're going to grab her character token. Each of the Slayers is going to start the game with 3 life. Okay. From there, we're going to need to resolve any of our character features. So some characters have bonuses that they start the game with. Others have character features that they're going to use throughout the game. Van Westen has something that modifies card draws on turns. So he doesn't get a bonus, but he gets something ongoing. Yuriko Asa has, and we'll just read it together. So start the game with 3 cards of any type and 1 blood point. So we're going to begin resolving our character features. Doesn't matter what order, everyone can do it at the same time. So we'll grab 1 blood point token. We'll put it by her character card there. Her character feature also says, I'll repeat it again, start with 3 cards of any type and 1 blood point. So we've got the blood point, and it says start with 3 cards of any type. So that's not, that doesn't mean search any deck for 3 cards you like. It means quite literally draw from 3, any deck you want, any 3 card combinations. So she could do, 3 force cards or, split it up. So let's go for a force card and 2 speed cards. And she just got a really, this is a very good draw. So she actually drew a glaive from the speed deck. And you'll notice here, they've got the icon from what deck they belong to. So she got a great weapon from the speed deck. She also, from the force deck, picked up the Titan's Cleaver, which gives a +3 to AR. The glaive gives a +2. It also has an ability called Viper's Vengeance. So she's got these 2 items. That's fantastic. She also got a trait called Resourceful, which will allow her team synergy range is increased by 2. So it's all working out for Yuriko right now. Sometimes, there's a lot of RNG. Player decision is vastly important, of course, but there is quite a bit of RNG. So, that could have gone bust, but in her case, just now, it was a huge success. So she's going to take these cards, she's going to place them by her character, or, if it's an actual player, we're not doing a mock setup here, you'd be holding them tightly because you loved your draw so much. So once again, she's gotten her character feature resolved now. She got the blood point, she did her 3 cards. And with that, we're pretty much ready to begin play on the Slayer side, except for moving our character tokens to the castle entrance. So the L-shaped piece that we continue to talk about is the castle starting piece. However, the castle entrance is this corner, the segment with these dotted lines here, with the steps up to the castle as well as the large castle door. So the only other thing we need to confirm is that we've placed our character token on the right side. So we've got, as we've talked about, the vampire side. So we'll just ensure that it's set to the Slayer side. And with that, the Slayers are ready to begin play. So before play begins, let's go ahead and get Dracula, the Dracula player set up. So as we've said, he's going to have a lot of tools at his disposal. He's got the Dracula shadows that coordinate with the cloak card. Those work in conjunction together. He's got his castle keep piece, which he can build these halls, chambers, and spires on. He's got traps, which he can potentially deploy. And he's got a pool of Dracula tiles that he can utilize to slow the Slayers down and otherwise harm them. So the first thing actually I think we should do, knock this out real quick, is Dracula gets to put boss cards in the combat deck. So there are 6 boss cards to choose from, denoted by these red frames. there are 3 different combat card tiers in Dracula's Curse. There's a tier 1, which is denoted by 1 sword, a tier 2, denoted by 2 swords, and a tier 3, denoted by 2 swords and a shield. So, Dracula, as I said, gets 6 boss monsters to choose from to put into the deck. They are 2 tier 1s, 2 tier 2s, and 2 tier 3s. So he could potentially, these are hidden to the Slayers, and even Dracula doesn't know when they're going to pop up in the game because they're going to be shuffled into the deck. So he can choose kind of an early game, if he wants the bosses to show up early and push an early game strategy, could do that, or he could go all late game, do tier 3s, or some mix between. So he can really kind of tailor what he wants to do in that regard with the game pacing. So let's just say he's going to choose the Soul Warden, which is a tier 3 boss, and the Alpha Wolf. Oh, you know what? How about the Devil Toad? The Devil Toad, that is devilish indeed, and that's a tier 2. So he's going to choose a tier 3 and a tier 2. So we'll set those bosses right here for a second. We're going to take out the other 4 bosses because he didn't select those. So we'll put those back in the game box. We don't want anyone to see them and see what bosses we're putting back because then they'll know what's in the deck. So now that we've selected these 2 bosses, we will shuffle the combat card deck and put those bosses in there. You want to do a real shuffle, not some mock shuffle I'm doing for the video. And now the 2 bosses are shuffled in the deck, ready to pounce on unexpected players. From there, we're almost set up. We only have one more thing to do. We need to get his starting hand of castle tiles. Much as we've talked about a lot, there are 3 different levels in the castle: the main floor, the underground, and the upper keep. So similarly, he has Dracula tiles, and these are castle tiles. They're all unique castle tiles. There's no repeats. These are his upper keep. He's got with the red name, the underground with the blue name, Dracula's blue right there. And then we've got the main floor in gold, of course. So his starting hand of 4 rooms is going to comprise of all main floor tiles. The first tile you need to locate is going to be the Grand Staircase. This is a pivotal tile in Dracula's Curse. Once again, it is a gold back. It's a pivotal tile because it is how the Slayers and any other player will access the upper keep. So it's got a gold door as well as 3 red doors. So this is a very important tile in the game, and this is the one that you want to begin setup for Dracula by finding. So because space is at a premium here, I'm just going to go ahead and set the Grand Staircase there. So I'll say it one more time. He gets a starting hand of 4 tiles. They're all main level. He gets the Grand Staircase, 1. He gets a tile of his choice. Now, if you're playing the game for the first time, you probably don't really know what you're looking for. But I know, Poison Garden, it's a very strong pick. It definitely might upset some Slayers once they encounter it. So let's pick that one. And so now we've got the Grand Staircase, the Poison Garden, and then from there he's going to have to select 2 random Dracula tiles from the main floor. Now he doesn't know, for the most part these Dracula tiles are bad for Slayers, but much like the Curse card deck, there are some good ones in here that could benefit them. Some items, things like that. So, he'll kind of shuffle this, hopefully enough not to be cheating, of course. And I don't know which ones I'm choosing now. So, that one, and then we'll say this one. So that's going to now comprise Dracula's starting hand of castle tiles. He's got 4 main level. Okay, because space is at a premium, I'll just set them right here. Normally, it would go into Dracula's hand and he would probably hold them close. But since we're doing a mock demonstration, I'll just set them right there. One thing to be aware of is that whereas the Slayers have hand limits for their cards, Dracula has no hand limit for his tiles, which we'll discuss more later. So, now he's got these remaining Dracula tiles, the main floor, the underground, and the upper keep. He's going to shuffle all these together, and that's going to complete his deck. You want to do a thorough shuffle and not this mock shuffle I'm doing right now, but you want to do a real shuffle, make sure they're completely randomized. And then if you so choose, you can set his tiles right there. The only other thing we need to do is just dictate his starting essence. So, once again, we use this Bat Meeple. Depending on how many Slayers are in the game is how many essence Dracula will begin the game with. So there will be a chart in the rulebook for you to decide, or not decide, but for you to find how much essence Dracula should start the game with. Okay, so let's go ahead and run through some turns of Dracula's curse. So Dracula acts last every turn. Play is going to begin with the player left of Dracula, and then it's going to go clockwise. Once again, meaning he's the last turn of the round. So at the beginning of your turn, you're going to be able to equip and unequip equipment and traits. Yuriko did get those fantastic cards thanks to her character feature, that head start. But before we do that, we're going to draw from one of the 3 decks. She had a lot of success earlier from the Force and Speed deck. Let's go ahead and go from the Mind deck and see what that offers us. So she got the Teleport card, which is a really strong utility card. It says, move to any unoccupied room within 3 tiles, not required to be connected. This ends your movement for the turn. So very strong utility card, though in the early game it may not be super powerful, but certainly mid to late game, that's a strong card. So she's in the early phase of her turn before she has moved, meaning she can equip and unequip cards. So first things first, I think we're gonna go ahead and, man, this glaive is pretty sweet. So it gives a +2 to AR. It shows, of course, again at the bottom, it says weapon. It shows how many hands the item requires to wield. So it's got 2 hands on the hilt there, so it's a 2-handed weapon, much like the Titan Cleaver she also got. But it has, unlike the Titan Cleaver, which has no ability, the glaive has a passive ability called Viper's Vengeance. It says, when you lose a combat encounter, gain 1 blood point. So typically you only gain blood points when you win a combat encounter. So this is early game, you might lose combats, so that is very powerful. So we're gonna go ahead and announce that we're equipping the glaive. She's gonna keep the Titan's Cleaver in her hand, possibly to trade with another player later on. She's also gonna equip this trait, Resourceful. Players can have 2 traits equipped at any one time. So she's gonna equip Resourceful. And on that note of equipping items, you can have items equipped for every slot you have. So you have a helm slot, a body slot, a boot slot, an accessory slot, and a weapon slot. So you can have 1 item equipped to each of those slots. All the items will say what they are at the bottom. It'll say helm, boot, body, etc. The only difference is with weapons, where if you have 2 one-handed weapons, you can equip them in dual wield. This is a 2-handed weapon, as we've said, so only can that be equipped. You can't equip a one-handed weapon with it. Okay, so now that she's drawn her card at the beginning of her turn, she's equipped her items, she's gonna go ahead and decide where to move. So she's got a movement of 5. So she's gonna choose, and keep in mind again, this castle starting piece, it's segmented with these dotted lines. So, this, boom, 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 boom. They're all different movement requirements here. So she's got movement of 5. Let's go here. So she'll say 1, 2. Then she'll announce that she's gonna explore or open this door. So once again, it only costs 2 movement. She had a max movement of 5. I'm gonna open this door. It's a gold door. So we're going to draw from the gold deck, of course. We've uncovered and explored the gatehouse. You're gonna instantly move your character in. You can't just peek your head in. Once you've explored, you're moving into that room. And once again, you do have to have movement to explore. So you can't, let's say you only had 2 movement and you went 1, 2, you can't then explore. You have to have an additional movement to open the door and move into it. So once again, she's explored the gatehouse. It's got an icon in the top right, which is 2 swords. That's a tier 2 combat, which, generally on the main floor, you're gonna find tier 1 combats. So that's a little unlucky there. So over on the combat card deck side, we've got a tier 2 on top already. If a tier 2 was not on top, we would burn cards until we found one. But because one's on top, we'll just go ahead and draw the combatant. So let's see what we got. So we've got Night Stalker. This is not a good pull for her. So the Night Stalker has an AR of 13, a soul value of 4, as well as the ability called Savage Pounce, which says you must tie or at least beat an AR of 9 without played cards or abilities for combat to begin. Otherwise, you lose the combat. So once again, you must tie or beat an AR of 9 without played cards or abilities for combat to begin. Now, one thing to be aware of is that equipped items and traits and things, that counts for your base AR. And so I made a mistake here because I was loving chatting with you wonderful people. So she's got a base AR of 3. We equipped that glaive, that's an AR of 2, meaning her base AR is now 5. So once again, this Night Stalker, it says you must beat an AR of 9 without playing cards or abilities. That doesn't, the cards you have equipped are not counted as played. They are inherent to your base attack rating, which she has a 5. Not great, and so we are indeed going to lose to the Night Stalker. So Yuriko Asa is going to lose a life, so she's already down to 2 life. However, and then because this Night Stalker won, he'll go over to this discard pile. If Yuriko had killed the Night Stalker, Dracula would actually reap its soul. He would say menacingly,
"Your soul is mine."
And he would then have that soul to potentially play in later combats. But because she lost to it, it goes to the discard pile. However, she did just equip the glaive that has the ability Viper's Vengeance, meaning it says, when you lose a combat, gain 1 blood point. So you give a little, you give a little, which is that, you know, making the best of a bad situation there. So pretty good for her. I mean, losing a life early on, that's probably going to happen. The game is hard and not totally unexpected there. Okay, so now at the end of her turn, she can decide to equip or unequip items or, you know, end her turn. One thing to be aware of is that because she did an event, this yellow icon, her movement is now over. She is unable to move now. She can't, you know, let's say she had a card that said, oh, move two spaces. She can't do that. She is locked into position and is chilling at the gatehouse. So we've moved into the end of her turn. The things she can do at the end of her turn are equip or unequip items or traits. She's gonna choose not to do that. She also can transmute. Transmuting is where you can, for all items and traits, you can actually discard them and you'll gain a blood point. So transmuting is quite powerful. However, Yuriko Asa, she's a good team player, so she's gonna hold on to this Titan's Cleaver and maybe she'll trade it to Van. So we'll place her hand there and she's gonna move on from her turn. Now it's Van's turn. He's got a character feature that says, draw any card if you choose. Draw any card. If you choose, you may discard and draw from a different deck. Let's go for strength. Force. So let's see what he gets. The Dreadnought Treads. Those are pretty darn good. So let's go ahead and keep those. As I said, his character feature would allow him to say, you know what, I don't like the Dreadnought Treads. Instead, I'm gonna discard and I'm going to draw from a different deck. Now, once he draws from that different deck, he can't go back to this card. You know, once he chooses to discard and choose from a different deck, draw from a different deck, that choice is made and he must stick with the card he's drawn. So, we're going to go ahead as Van and we're going to equip those Dreadnought Treads. As I said earlier, the items are all going to have, you know, it's boots. You can only have 1 boots equipped at any given time. So, we're going to equip that. We're going to ensure that we do his AR tracker. So he has a base AR of 5. The boots add 2. Now he's at 7. Okay? So Van Wesson is at 7 base AR. He's got a movement of 3. And so, you know, if he was to come over this direction, so he could open, you know, there's a gold door here, gold door here, gold door here, and then quite a few over in this area. So he would like to open a door and kind of get going a bit, but he's got a great team synergy. It's called Born Leader. So Van's team synergy allows him to give any adjacent player, anyone in team synergy, which is adjacent, unless you have a trait like Yuriko has that extends that range, but any adjacent player can get +2 AR in combat if he wishes to bestow it to them. So, you know, he can only move 3 spaces, 1, 2, 3, meaning he could not open a door, which is a little frustrating. He couldn't explore, but he's going to be a team player. He's going to come over and join Yuriko, 1, 2, 3, kind of do a high-level play here, knowing that if she gets in combat on her next turn, he's going to be there to support her with his team synergy. Let's see, what else we got? He could potentially try to trade Yuriko for her Titan's Cleaver. However, trading is a very simple matter in the game. Trading is essentially where for any trade, you can trade anything to anyone if you'd like. However, they must give you 1 card in return. So Van does not have any cards to trade right now. He has the boots that he equipped, but unlike Yuriko, who got all those extra cards as part of her character feature, he's got his boots, and that's it right now. So he's gonna hang with that. His turn's over. Okay. Dracula now. He's got his 4 starting tiles that we spoke about. Now, players don't get to know what these are, okay? So, you know, only Dracula knows. So he could potentially, so at the beginning of Dracula's turn, let's jump back a second. The beginning of Dracula's turn, he's gonna gain 1 essence. So because there were 2 slayers, he started with 0 essence. As I mentioned, there's a chart that dictates what Dracula's starting essence is based on how many slayers are in the game. So he started with 0 because there's only 2, but at the start of his turn, he's always going to gain an essence. So he did so, he has 1 essence now. After that, he's going to play a castle tile, one of his Dracula castle tiles, and he has to do this. He cannot, you know, choose to wait or anything. So let's see what we've got. We've got, you know, the Poison Garden that we selected, the Grand Staircase, the Bestiary, and the Summoning Circle. These are pretty good. So, you know, you could do a little deception here, because I could take the Grand Staircase and place it out first, and they might be thinking to themselves, there's no way he put the Grand Staircase out first. You know, he's going to wait. He probably is going to wait and place it, you know, later. But no, I put it first, so a little feint there, potentially. You know, likewise, maybe they think I might have placed it first, and instead I put the Poison Garden, and ooh, they're in big trouble if they hit that one. So Dracula has now placed his tile, he's gained his essence, and early on in the game, he's kind of just manipulating the dungeon. So things move very quick for Dracula early on. His shadows come out later, so yeah, we don't have a lot going on. We could potentially spend our 1 essence to build one of these keep rooms. So we've got the Alchemy Lab, the Arcane Engine, the Demon Well. Oof. You know what? Let's go for it. So we're gonna choose the Alchemy Lab because I love the traps. So the Alchemy Lab has what it confers to Dracula on the backside. It allows him to place a trap card or deploy a trap card. You're able to have 1 max active trap at a time, and it costs 2 essence to deploy a trap. So the cost to build this hall here, there's 1 fang. Fangs always denote essence, so I'm gonna spend the essence I have to build the Alchemy Lab. And that's Dracula's turn, okay? Now he's got these 3 Dracula tiles in his hand. He's kind of biding his time early game. Okay, so Dracula just acted. We're back at the top of the round. It's Yuriko's turn again. So let's go ahead and have her draw a card. So, you know, she's got, what has she got? Yeah, let's just draw from the speed deck. I hope we get something good. So she got Thrust, which is an attack card. It is a +3, and once you use this card into combat, you discard it. So it's not like a permanent attack there. It is something that you play, and then it's used and gone, only to potentially be reshuffled into the deck again. So she's off to a good start. I mean, she's got an extra weapon she can transmute. She's got teleport, which isn't relevant so much in the early game. And then she's got thrust, so a good little attack there. She's also got a team player with her, Van, who decided to, confer his team synergy to her and come close. So let's go ahead and open up one of these doors and see what happens. As I've continued to harp on, space is at a premium for filming, so I'm going to move everything down here. Just kind of scooch it all down. It might be out of shot. If so, I apologize. But we'll just tuck everything down slightly. Give us some play space. And then let's decide we're going to open this door here. So once again, it's a gold door. We're going to draw from the gold door deck, the main. It's the ballroom. Okay, so once you explore, you're going to immediately move into that room. She's got an event icon here. It's a yellow blood drop. That's the curse icon. So she's going to draw a curse card. So let's see what happens here. I don't know. These have not been shuffled properly, I'm sure. So who knows? So she drew tripwire. There's some flavor text here and then the effect. So it says tripwire. You should have progressed slower. You hear the click of a device trigger. Then a sting as a crossbow bolt strikes your body. Lose 1 life. Okay, so her promising start is starting to, well, it's not looking very promising anymore, is it? So she has now lost another life. Yikes. So she's down to 1 life. No good for Yuriko. And that's her turn. There's not much more she can do at the moment. Passing on to Van, he's going to, of course, as always, he's going to be able to draw a card at the start of his turn. Keep in mind his character feature, which allows him to draw from a different deck if he doesn't like the card he gets. So let's draw from the force deck, see what we get. The long sword. Pretty decent weapon. It is a one-handed weapon, which is, that's pretty good. It's a +2 AR. So we'll set this over by him. And because it is the beginning of his turn, the beginning phase of his turn, he's going to be able to equip that. So his AR now was sitting at 7. Base AR is now going to 9. Which probably isn't strong enough to kill many, if any, monsters on the main level. So he's going to have to cross his fingers. He's going to, let's see, go 1, 2. Let's open up this guy. Let's see what happens here. Uh-oh. It's the nest. Wow. There's some bad luck for the Slayers here. As I said, 4 Slayers is kind of the ideal setup because, when you only have 2 Slayers and one turns into a vampire early, that's a pretty devastating blow. But, if you have 4 total Slayers and one turns into a vampire early, that just adds intrigue. So Van, he drew this nest room. He's now going to move into it. It has, as well as, just like the gatehouse, it has a tier 2 icon. This is not normal for the main floor. It's actually mostly tier 1s. So we'll see what happens here. But there's really no way he can probably beat this. But a tier 2 combat, there's already one sitting on the top. Keep in mind, once again, if this card was on top right here, we'd have to burn them until we found the tier 2. But this was sitting on top. So we'll draw a combatant. A grotesque. That's beautiful and disgusting at the same time. It's got an attack rating of 12, a soul value of 3. It's got an ability called Eldritch Hunger. If you lose this combat, Legend, aka Dracula or Cthulhu if you're playing the expansion, may relocate you to an unoccupied room within a range of 2. Once again, if you lose this combat, Dracula may relocate you to an unoccupied room within a range of 2. So, that actually could be huge later on in the game when his shadows are deployed and he's, kind of can move you into a vulnerable position. Right now, we're only on turn 2. There's not much going on the board, so not super huge. But do we want to move him? I think Dracula is going to choose to leave him up in the nest, actually. I don't want to move him down closer to where he can potentially give synergy to Yuriko. Because let's say I was to move him Van here. Keep in mind, his team synergy will benefit anyone that's adjacent or in his room. So, you know, if I moved him somewhere that then Yuriko could, as Dracula, somewhere that he could then open a door and confer team synergy, that would be a mistake. So I'm gonna, you know, sometimes the best strategy is doing nothing. So I'm gonna leave him where he is. Once again, if Van was able to kill this monster, it would have gone into Dracula's soul well, because right now the Slayers are being trounced on. That did not happen. And so Van's gonna lose a life. That monster's gonna go in the discard pile to perhaps be seen again. And that's Van's turn. Okay, so now we're heading to Dracula's turn. So at the beginning of Dracula's turn, he's going to gain 1 essence. He is going to place one of his cards. I think I know exactly what I want to do now. We're going to do my fave here, the Poison Garden. So essentially what happens in the Poison Garden, it's got a white icon, and this is going to be found on the reference sheet, the pentagram reference sheet that I spoke about. So this is you'll find its effect on that sheet, but what it does is anytime a Slayer enters this room, anytime a player enters this room, they have to discard 1 force card or lose 1 life. So that's persistent, that can never change. This is a great tile to potentially, you know, block off if there's, you want to do some zone control. This is a great one to do that. For instance, if we could, maybe we still had the Grand Staircase in our hand, we laid this somewhere, then someone explored it, and then they moved off it, then we put the Grand Staircase on the other side of it, they'd have to traverse it. So that could be a very potent combo. For now, we'll put it right here. And the Slayers are probably thinking, maybe actually we go over here. And I say that's probably illegal what I just did. I think chess rules, It's like, once you take your finger off the piece, you've moved it. But for the mock demonstration, we'll say that was okay. So, I laid it down. It's locked in position now. The reason I would say, if I put the Poison Garden over here, they're probably not going to think it's the Grand Staircase. I want them to think it's the Grand Staircase because they're more likely to go and explore it. So I definitely want them to touch this tile and get hurt. So we've got 1 essence. We've now got 2 remaining tiles. So once these 2 go out, Dracula shadows come out. So once Dracula plays 4 Dracula rooms, on the following turn, his shadows get deployed. And that means a whole world of trouble for the Slayers. You can see already they're in big heap trouble. So, there's not much, to do at the moment. This early game is just you just kind of keep rolling. All right, so that's going to end Dracula's turn. Okay, let's go ahead and get into round 3. So now we're on Yuriko again. She's going to draw. Let's go for another speed card. Ooh, a nice attack. Called Wind Walk. You may move up to 2 spaces after combat to an unoccupied room, but perform no actions. So, quite good. That's an attack card. It's going to let her potentially harm some things. So, she has if she opens a door, she's got no chance of getting team synergy from Van because, if she opens this door, he's not adjacent to her. He would need to be in this room. But Yuriko, she is the half human, half vampire daughter of Dracula. This castle is basically home to her. She's going for it. Let's find out what happens. We're gonna open this, explore it. Oh, God. This castle is pretty dangerous. It's the sick room. The sick room. So one thing I didn't cover a minute ago is that the player that explores the room can put it in any orientation that they want. So I could rotate it however pleased me, okay? It's up to the player that draws it and explores it. So, there is definitely a strategy to this, because now, like, in this orientation, we basically could potentially connect these tiles here. Whereas if I place it like this, now, that you'd have to come around potentially. And then or maybe you explore this one and you completely shut off that avenue. So depending on how Dracula is using his shadows, depending on if there's vampires roaming the castle, all sorts of things are going to change and how you might want to strategize playing rotating the castle rooms. So let's say we do it like this. We'll leave this avenue open for now. When you explore a room and it's got multiple event icons, the yellow icons here, you're going to always resolve them left to right. Left to right when the room is oriented correctly. So it's a curse, then the fang. So curse card, then the essence for Dracula. And anytime you see the essence, anytime you see the fang, Dracula gains an essence. So let's see what we got. She's got to think positive here. Oh my God, no way. Okay, I mean, I told you I didn't shuffle these, but wow. So, webs is the curse card. Let's read the flavor text. The threads pulse with a sinister energy. The more you struggle, the tighter their grip becomes. Choose to lose one life or lose your next turn. That is very bad. Obviously, she has one life. She's going to lose her next turn, otherwise she is dead. So we did explore this, so we got to move her in. We'll keep this curse card to recall that she has to lose her next turn. And wow, that's no good. So Slayers are getting whooped right now. And you know what? Dracula's Curse does that. It does create story moments. So, just because they're on the ropes right now doesn't mean they're not going to triumph. It can and does happen all the time. So, this is, I wouldn't say par for the course, but can totally happen and set up these huge narrative comebacks and momentum swings. So that's it for Yuriko right now. She resolved the curse. Now she has to resolve that. The fang means, once again, that Dracula gains an essence. He goes up from 1 to 2, and that's the end of her turn. On to Van Wesson. Let's see what he's going to do. He needs something good, man. He needs something good. Not great. Probably the worst item in the game. Still an item, though. It's a helm. So, he's not doing too bad. He's got boots, a weapon, and a helm. It's a leather cap. It is a +1 AR. So now he's moving up from 9 to 10 base AR. And you may have seen me say this before, but I love this about our cards. If table space is at a premium, you can totally put the cards like this and stack them. You got helm, boots, weapon. You can still see how many hands the weapon does, what the AR modifiers are. However, these boots are quite special. They do have an ability called Mighty Leap for 1 blood point you can use. So, which is a movement tech-based ability. So, if you have one item that has an ability, you'd want to put that one on top, lest you, not realize it in a critical moment. But there's only 2 Slayers. We'll put them out side by side here. Okay. So he's got 10 AR, he's got 3 items, and I wouldn't say a lot of mojo. Whew. Let's see where we're gonna go. Let's go open this door. Let's stay with Yuriko and cross our fingers. So 1, 2, 3. Gonna draw the appropriate tile. Ooh, the laboratory. Okay. Once again, I can put these however I want. I could put it like this and create a dead end there. That wouldn't make sense really. You kind of want to leave yourself avenues and things like that. Visually it would look better. Well, I don't know if it would. So let's tuck it like that and move Van into the laboratory. We're gonna grab the pentagram sheet. It's got the pentagram icon in the corner here. This icon. There's the Dracula tiles that are associated with his tiles, when you read these pentagram sheets, and then the regular tiles, this side. So they are organized by main, underground, upper, quite easily. They're also alphabetized. So this is the laboratory on the main floor. So it says, draw 1 mine card or discard 1 mine card and draw 2 mine cards. So Van holds no mine cards, so there's no opportunity to discard them. So he is going to draw a mine card and add it to his hand. He got Premonition. It's a utility card. It says, look at the top 3 cards of any deck and rearrange them to your liking. That could be used offensively, actually, against a vampire player, potentially, if you know their turn is coming up next and maybe they're trying to go for spells or something and you want to shut them down. So that's not the worst card. That's okay. It is situational, though. So it could have been better. But that's Van's turn. Now we pass around to Dracula, and he is going to go from 2 to 3 Essence, and that's starting to get scary for the Slayers now, because once he gets Essence, he's got that, tools in his kit that he can start to do things to people. I think we will go for I would never say it's allowed with real players, but we're going to place the Bestiary right here. Basically just daring them to open it. Yeah, come on. And once again, you could do that with the Grand Staircase. You could go, yeah. Oh, please open it. Please open it. Could backfire. Could be the Poison Garden. Who knows? So, Bestiary could be mean to them as well, though. So, this castle has a lot of bite. All right, so he has one room tile left in his starting hand, meaning we're getting close to bringing out these shadows. Pretty exciting. So he could deploy a trap now. Keep in mind, the Alchemy Lab, he spent an essence to build it. And it says again on the back, it says you can deploy a trap card, 1 max active at a time, costs 2 essence. So, could go for a trap card, or even could decide, ooh, I'm going to build another hall or a chamber. I mean, we got some good stuff here. There are, for where we're currently positioned, I would drop the hammer on them. I'm going to go and pay 2 essence, 1, 2, to place a trap card. And I'm going to place the Pitfall trap card. It says this trap activates the next time a player draws a castle room with a pentagram icon. They must succeed a speed challenge or drop to the underground crossroads. All other room effects are nullified. So, once again, table space, not very good right now, but we will announce to the table, hey, we spent the 2 essence. We spent the 2. I think we were out of shot when I spent the essence, but we had 3, 1, 2, dropped it down to 1, and then announce, hey, I am deploying a trap. And so this will sit and wait until, once again, the trigger is on the card. It says the next time a Slayer explores a room with a pentagram icon. So exploring a room is specifically when you draw a tile. It's not just, walking onto a room that has that icon. It must be a new room that you're exploring. And with that, Dracula's turn is over, and we'll go back to the top of the round with Yuriko. So, we're back with Yuriko. She has lost her turn, which is just terrible, because she needs cards. Yeah, cards are the lifebloods of the Slayers, as well as the blood points. But she got that Web's curse card. So she lost her turn, and that is not what she wanted to do. So now we move on to Van. Van is going to, let's mix it up here. Let's go for a mind card. He drew Prophecy, spend 1 blood point and draw 2 cards of your choice. Not compatible with other card draw modifiers. So, it's not a very good card for Van right now. He doesn't have any blood points. And, at this pivotal stage in the game, with Yuriko on death's door and him, in a somewhat weak position, he's going to use his character feature. He's going to say, hey, I'm discarding this card. If table space wasn't at a premium here, we would actually have room behind this 4 Speed of Mind decks for the discard piles, but I'll just put it to the side for now, right next to the Mind card deck. And because of his character feature, he can choose to discard that, and he's going to draw from a different deck. We're going right back to the Force. Let's go. Boom! +1 life. Yeah. That's fantastic. So, Van could, if he wanted to, he could hold on to this card and trade it to Yuriko for maybe that, maybe for her Cleaver. it's not a great trade for him because the longsword's a one-handed weapon and it's +2 AR. The Titan's Cleaver is +3 AR and it's two-handed weapon. Although, you know, every single AR counts. So I think at the moment, Van's gonna hold on to that card and cross his fingers. And from there, you know what? Let's do it. Let's do it because they're right next to each other. So Van is going to move down. He's going to move to the sick room. And what a perfect name for someone that had to miss a turn, the sick room. He's going to move to the sick room. He's going to say, hey, Yuriko, it's your lucky day. I'm going to trade you life card for the Titan Cleaver. Remember, you can trade anything you want, absolutely anything you want, as long as you just trade an equal number of cards. Doesn't matter what you trade, just matters how many you trade. So it was a 1-for-1 trade. Life goes into Yuriko's back pocket there. Titan Cleaver goes to Van. However, he's already moved. He's in the middle of his turn, so he can't equip that immediately. He'll have to wait until the end of his turn or the beginning of his next turn. So, oof. Where do we go? There are some rooms that are, you know, we could potentially cause her to get killed. Like if we go here and then we open this room, there could be some splash damage, so to speak. So, you know, let's play it like a real player. Because I know my friends, this is exactly what they would do. They would think that I was just, you know, just so brazen that I would in fact put the grand staircase here. So let's go. So he started here, 1, 2, 3. So we're going back. Oh, no, the bestiary. Okay. And guess what happens?
You triggered my trap card!
So now, because the bestiary has a pentagram icon, it also has a tier 1 combat, but because it has a pentagram icon, it's going to trigger the pitfall trap. And remember, the pitfall trap also says at the bottom that all other room effects are nullified. So we're going to immediately activate this trap. The other room effects are nullified. Pitfall is going to, once again, trap activates the next time a player draws a castle room with a pentagram. They must succeed a speed challenge or drop to the underground crossroads. Van's going to look at his hand. He's looking at his hand. He's going, oh boy, I don't have a speed card. So you know where he's going. The underground crossroads. That's not good. That is not good. Now they're split up. They're vulnerable. They're weak. Dracula's trap card is going to go back into his pool of traps. So it's not like once you use a trap, it's gone forever. It merely goes back into his pool, and he could spam it if he wanted to. He could spam any of his traps if he so chose. Then again, once again, he maybe didn't even have to build the alchemy lab, so he doesn't even need to use traps. He could you know, go about destroying the slayers in a different manner. Okay, so Van has now dropped to the underground crossroads. Yikes, 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 but not before trading Yuriko a life. And since it's the end of his turn, he's going to take this longsword, unequip it. He's going to announce that he's equipping the Titan's Cleaver. Because at the end of his turn and the beginning of your turn, you can unequip and equip or transmute. He's also going to transmute the longsword, meaning he's going to discard it in exchange for 1 blood point. So now, Van is going to gain 1 blood point for discarding the longsword. And we'll have a little discard pile for each of the 4 speed mine over here, since there's so much, only so much table space. Okay, so let's get back to now Dracula's turn. He's going to go up to 2 Essence. He's going to, lick his lips. He's got the Summoning Circle, which is a really strong room. If he spins Essence, he can like superpower this room to make it like a tier 3 combat, a tier 2 or 3. It's inherently a tier 1. And I think he'll put it maybe right here. Just, you know, just come and get it, Yuriko. Come and get it. One thing to note, Dracula tiles cannot be placed so. You can't, they must be placed adjacent to explored rooms or connected to explored rooms. So, you know, I can't place it here. This would be an illegal move. It has to be placed on an open, available door that's to an explored room. So we'll place it there. He's got, let's see, 2 Ascents. I mean, we could go for another trap, or we could maybe build something. So let's see. Ooh. Oh man. There's quite a few chambers that can really mess the Slayers up. They allow you to manipulate the shadows in devious ways. I'm gonna hold off though, and I'm gonna save my essence in the hopes that maybe I get some monster souls, or you know, they go to the summoning circle, and then I can spend some essence to supercharge that room. So I'm gonna bide my time. I'm gonna wait and let things unfold a little bit, because the castle, you know, devious hands here. The castle's doing the work for me. Okay, and that is Dracula's turn. So he's now out of his Dracula castles. His 4 starting hands have been completed now. He's placed out his 4 Dracula tiles, meaning this bad boy comes out next turn. So 4, once again, once he places 4 Dracula tiles, 4 rooms, on the following turn, the 5th turn of the game, he's going to be able to place his shadows out. And that's going to spell a whole world of trouble for the Slayers. That they're already in big trouble. So let's see how that unfolds for him. Okay, so now back to Yuriko's turn. Let's see what her hand size is looking like. She's got 4 cards already. So she's got quite a few cards. She's got the life card, which she'll use momentarily. But first, let's go ahead and resolve some things here. So let's go speed. Oh, another attack. Whirlwind. It's an attack / utility, so it can be used in combat for a +4 AR. Alternatively, you can use it out of combat to clear and remove adjacent shadows. However, it will not work on fully formed Dracula. So if there are 4 shadows in a stack, this utility of clearing the shadows will not work. So we're going to tuck this in our little belt here. We are going to jump into our turn proper. We're going to use the life card, which we oh so desperately needed. We're going to gain 1 life back. This goes into the force card discard pile. And now, some interesting decisions. Her base AR is not very strong. So if she were to draw something dangerous, it would put her right back on death's door, because her ability to win a combat at the moment is suspect. So let's hope, for Yuriko's sake, that whatever this is potentially good. We're going to go ahead and go here. So Yuriko is opening that door. Okay, so this is actually a good learning moment here for us. So this is a room, splashed right on her. So this is a room with no icons, no name, no nothing. So because there's no icons, no event occurs in the room, meaning she can keep moving. So we're going to place that there. So she did in fact move into it though. So that was 1 movement. Now she, if she so chooses, can go here. Which she's going to do. She's going to open this door. The barracks. Oh, Yuriko. It's not the best. Not the best. It's a pentagram symbol and then a tier 1 combat. So once again, we find it's alphabetized. It just flew right out of my hands. So let's go ahead and pick that up. Okay, and we're back. Wow, as tends to happen with filming things, it's kind of Murphy's Law. What can go wrong will go wrong. I'm not talking about RoboCop. This is not a comment on that. Yeah, this paper flew out of my hands and then hilarity ensued, and Wow. So we are back. The shot might be a little different. Sorry about that. So Yuriko has just explored the barracks. She is referencing this pentagram sheet. It's got a pentagram icon and a tier 1 combat icon, the single sword. So the barrack says vampire players may choose to fight a tier 1 monster or gain it as a companion. So instead of fighting a monster, if you're a vampire, you could gain that monster as a companion. However, she's not a vampire, so it's not applicable to her. So we're going to draw the next. So we're looking for that single sword, which we burn the top card till we find it. There we go. So we've got a new combat card. Let's see what we get. The Skeleton Archer. So the Skeleton Archer has an AR of 9, a soul value of 2, and an ability called Bone Barrage. It says, Legend may pay 1 essence to increase this monster's AR or soul value by 3. Once again, Legend, anytime we see that, it's really referring to the villain of the game. You know, and it's going to typically be Dracula, but if you're playing the expansion, it's going to be Cthulhu. So Dracula may pay 1 essence to increase this monster's AR or soul value by 3. So that's super applicable right now. You know, a smart Dracula player, he's going to assess what's going on. So he can look over and say, oh, okay, Yuriko has 5 as her base AR right now. You know, he doesn't know what cards she has in her hand, but she has a number of cards. So, you know, this is one of the reasons you save essence. So that way, when these types of things occur, you can, you know, seize the moment. So I am in fact I'm gonna move the essence tracker down. I'm gonna pay 1, so it's from 2 to 1 now. So Dracula has 1 essence. So that 9 is now becoming a 12. So Yuriko has to tie a 12 at least to win. So she's got a base AR of 5. She's got some good attack cards, but you know, she really wants to manage her resources. She wants to use as few resources as possible. You know, there is a big resource management kind of vibe to the game as well. Not only with blood points, but with cards and when you choose to use them. So she's going to use, let's see, she's got Thrust, which is a +3 to AR. She also has Whirlwind, which is a +4. So she has a base AR 5, Whirlwind adds 4, so 9. Then Thrust adds 3, so 12. She's going to tie the Skeleton Archer. She's going to have to get rid of those 2 cards she just played. So she used Thrust and Whirlwind. Those are now going to the discard pile, which I apologize is out of shot, but it's going into the discard pile specifically for, you know, what they belong to. So if it's a force card, it's a speed card, whatever, it's going to go into that particular discard pile because they may, you know, should all the players go through the decks, those are going to be reshuffled in. Probably not likely, of course, with 2 Slayers, but, you know, with a game of 4 or 5 Slayers, yeah, that could definitely happen. So Dracula's going to go, oh, finally. And in his most menacing voice, he's going to say,
Your soul is mine.
We can dub over that because it was pretty bad. I did not have practice. So he's going to reap this monster's soul. It's going to go into his soul well. So, you know, just for the sake of keeping it on the camera here, I'll place it right here. And that way you can kind of keep track of it. So Dracula's soul well is essentially where he can play monster souls. He can play the top card in the monster soul, the soul well, and add its soul value to a combat. He can do this by paying 1 essence. So again, Dracula can pay 1 essence to add the monster's soul value. They all have different soul values. This one has a 2, so very, very slight on this Skeleton Archer. But so he could pay 1 essence to increase another monster's attack rating by 2. That's when you're drawing cards. That's applicable only to combats when a player is drawing from the combat card deck. Okay, so Yuriko has killed the Skeleton Archer. For doing so, she's going to gain a blood point, because when you win combat, you gain a blood point. So now she's got 3. She did have to use a couple of her cards, but you know, she's got 3 blood points now and could actually purchase a subclass. So I think now would be an incredible time. Her unique subclasses to her are, and the subclasses as I've harped on, each Slayer has 3 unique subclasses. They kind of coordinate to the force, speed, and mind decks, of course. So there's a class that's more force-based, class that's more, what you'd say speed, and one for mind. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean, oh, I have this subclass I'm going to draw from this particular deck, but she's got one called Samurai that has a very good passive called Concentrated Strikes, and it says passive right underneath it. And so the Samurai subclass, she's going to get the Concentrated Strikes. It's a passive +4 AR, which is huge for her, and then she'll also gain the ability Parry, which will, for 1 blood point, she could spend to evade a combat. So let's go ahead and spend our 3. We could save this. It might come back to bite us, but let's do it now. We're gonna take those 3 blood points away because it costs 3 blood points to buy your first subclass, and she's gonna now become a Samurai. So that, once again, that doesn't lock her in from buying other subclasses, but that's a huge boon for her because now she's going from a base AR of 5 to 9. So, as I said, she has a low starting AR at 3. However, and you saw, she got to 1 life, but now she's bouncing back a bit. Now she's got an AR of 9, and she still has the highest movement of the game, of course. So the things are looking a little better for Eureka right now. Let's check in with Van, because things aren't looking so good down there in the darkness. So Van, at the beginning of his turn, let's say he's going to draw. So once again, of course, at the start of your turn, you're always going to get to draw a card. That's true whether you're a Slayer or a Vampire. Let's draw a speed card. He needs something good. Come on now. It is a utility card called Team Player. It allows you to provide synergy to a player anywhere on your floor. Not super applicable for him in any way, shape, or form, especially with only 1 Slayer in the game. So, and segmented off. So we're going to use his character feature. We're going to discard this speed card, and we're going to hope and pray that he gets something good from the force deck. Let's see what we get. Knockout. Oh boy, so it's another utility card. It's super situational. That was a bad pull for Mr. Van Wessen. So he's gonna, cry a little bit, then he's gonna move on with his day because he's got a great attitude. So let's go ahead and open a door, and he's gonna continue to be the optimist and hope something good happens. So he's gonna declare he's gonna open that door. We're gonna pull from the underground tile with the blue. And it is a room that has no event or anything, so much like the one that Eureka had over here, he can keep moving if he so chooses. We'll move into that room, and once again, because no event occurred there, he can keep moving with his turn as long as he has enough additional movement, which he does. So let's go ahead and keep the train going. So we're going to move to this location, the wine cellar. Who doesn't love a good glass of red? Dracula certainly can appreciate it. So Van will too. He is in the wine cellar, and in the wine cellar he has a curse event. That yellow blood drop there. Okay, here we go. This could spell trouble big time. What are we gonna get? Oh yes, the Traveling Merchant. The Traveling Merchant, flavor text. Let's see. In the castle's dark corridors, an unexpected merchant offers strange artifacts for purchase. Okay, we love it. So that's fantastic. The actual mechanic for the curse card, Traveling Merchant, is you're able to draw 3 cards from any decks you choose, and then you may purchase those cards for 1 blood point each. And I'm seeing now that I know Van had a blood point earlier, so I don't know what happened there. And we're going to keep moving, and I'm quite certain he did. I'm not sure what happened. As I said, Murphy's Law. Just things went haywire. So, okay, so he's got 1 blood point. He can draw from any decks he wants. We could do deal a buffet. We could go for each one. Let's draw, maybe we should. Let's draw 1 force card, 1 speed card. Let's do 2. Oh. Let's do two force and a speed. So he's going to be able to buy these. He's only got 1 blood point, but if he had 3 blood points, he could buy them all. Okay, so we've got an attack, Swift Strike, we've got a utility card called Intimidate, and we've got a trait called Gallant, which increases team synergy. So once again, he's just hitting on ones that aren't super applicable for his situation. Intimidate, I mean, no, it's not. He could basically kind of screw Yuriko over or a vampire player over, but once again, not applicable. He really needs some damage right now. So we're gonna purchase for 1 from the merchant. I'm gonna discard these guys because he's not gonna buy them. And then we're gonna spend that 1 blood point. To the banker it goes. The blood banker. He's gonna take the Swift Strike card. He's gonna add that to his hand. Perfect. Traveling merchant curse card is gonna go to the discard pile. Boom. Van's turn is done. Now let's move on to Dracula. Oh, this is going to be fun because now the shadows are coming out. But before we move the shadows out, we have to do what he does every turn, which once again, he's going to go up 1 essence. So he went from 1 to 2. He also has to place a Dracula tile. If you recall, we just placed our 4th one, our hand is empty, so now we have this stack of Dracula tiles. So on top of it, this is, you know, as we did, we shuffled this. So on top of it is a red door. It's because of the red name, and he does not have any red doors available, which is great for Dracula because now he gets to add this tile to his hand, and he can look at it. So he gets to add this tile to his hand. He gets to add this tile to his hand. And so later on, when red doors are available, he'll have a better hand of rooms to choose from. Now, because it's it's an underground door, and we do have underground doors available for Van, for Dracula, he's gonna have to draw this one and play it immediately, whether it's good for the Slayers, bad for the Slayers, doesn't matter. So I'm gonna just put that right there. I'm gonna add this back and let's see what it is. Ooh, that is a good one. That is the Vault. So, you know, there are good Dracula tiles. This is a great one for the Slayers. It would allow them to potentially get some good items. However, you know, our players are probably not gonna go for it. You know, I'm gonna like give them a menacing look as I place it down, the other players, and they're gonna think, oh boy, don't open that tile. When in fact, actually, if they did, it would be good for them. So some risk reward going on in the game as well. And so now that we've gained an essence, we have placed our Dracula room. Now we're gonna deal with the shadows. So the shadows, as we've talked about, are quite versatile. They can, you know, be used offensively, defensively, in all sorts of ways. So we've got 4 different icons on the bottom. You've got Dracula, the legend shadow, the one with his portrait. You've got the fangs, which always represents essence, and you've got the combat here, as well as a curse card draw. So when a Slayer, let's say, you know, this shadow was right here, and it's the fang icon, it's the essence icon. If Yuriko was to come over to the shadow, she was to go boom, boom, and investigate it. And anytime a Slayer enters a room with the shadow, they must investigate. It acts as an event, and it does in their turn. She's gonna flip this over. We're gonna resolve the icon, so Dracula would gain an essence, and then this shadow would be removed from the board. That's the same with all the shadows. So the curse card means the player is going to draw a curse card, of course. The combat is gonna be, a player's gonna draw a combat card. However, the player is actually going to have to burn the top combat card and then draw one and fight that combatant. The reason being is, you know, let's say if you had a tier 3 on top of this deck, people and players might be hesitant to fight the top monster. So, you know, they'd be hesitant to investigate the shadow. So this is a way to make sure the Slayers can't game, you know, when they're gonna attack the shadows. It's gonna be random, you know. So what's under this one? Oh, it's a tier 2. Might be a tier 1, might be a tier 3, we don't know. Okay, so we've got that. And then finally, if the Slayer was to investigate the Dracula shadow, the one with his portrait, the legend shadow, boom, boom, and then investigate, Dracula's gonna lose 1 life. Dracula does start the game with 5 life on his card, which we have down here, but we did miss it in the setup phase, so you probably saw the note I added, or will be adding in post. So that's kind of how the shadows work when they're being investigated. Now, how they work when Dracula's using them is, so all the shadows can move 1 room for each shadow in the stack, okay? The Dracula shadow can move 2 rooms. So if the Dracula shadow, let's say the Dracula shadow is here, he can actually pounce on the player. Now if it was the Essence one, it could only move 1. Now what happens when the Dracula, I'm gonna flip it upside down so we just keep an eye on it. So what happens when this token pounces on a player, so to speak, when it enters a room a player's located in? That player is immediately gonna lose 1 life, and then the legend shadow comes off the board. So that happens actually with, so if he was to pounce on her, then that particular token, the legend token, would come off the board. Any other token as well, if it was right here and it pounced on her, it's coming off the board. So there's one key rule with this, is that whenever this shadow is removed from the game board, all the other shadows are gonna come off too. Okay, so no matter what, how many shadows are here, you know, if everyone's, they're placed around the castle, as soon as this guy, the Dracula portrait, if he was to pounce on Eureka, or he was to get pounced on, so to speak, and he gets removed for whatever reason, the other tokens are gonna come off, and then the shadows are gonna be replaced and redeployed on the next turn, okay? Keep in mind, shadows cannot act or move or act on the turn they're placed. All this information, for the most part, there's a lot of information on the about their abilities and things like that is on this cloak card. So shadows also stack. When 2 shadows enter a room together, they must stack. Okay? So shadows must stack when they enter a room with another shadow. And stacking is good for shadows typically. So they can move 1 room for each shadow in the stack. So in this case, this shadow stack could move, there's 3, it could go 1, 2, 3. Whereas a 2 shadow stack could go 1, 2, okay? All right, so now let's discuss actually deploying them. So this is what we've all been waiting for, right? We want to deploy the Dracula shadows because these are, you know, really one of his biggest weapons in his tool bag. So we'll do this flipped up here. So, you know, depending on if you know your players, know your friends, you know, how other games have gone, there's like a poker aspect to it. You know, where are you gonna put this Dracula shadow? I'm gonna put him over here by the Grand Staircase. Okay, I'm gonna put him out of danger, away from Eureka, away from her being able to pounce on him, thus, you know, forcing me to lose 1 life, as well as pull the other shadows off the board. Then I'm gonna go ahead and, with this combat one, I'm gonna shut this path down for her. So, you know, if you can see, in order to get over there, she'd have to pass through here. So I'm gonna shut this gap down. And I'm just gonna surround her, okay? So let's discuss legal placement for these guys. So Dracula shadows may, unless you have there's keep rooms that can modify this. So Dracula can build different rooms in his keep that will let their placement change as well as their movement. However, by default, the legal placement for a shadow is that you cannot place it adjacent to another shadow. You can also not place it adjacent to any players. So, you know, I could not place a shadow here. You can't place it on unexplored rooms unless you have a keep room built that allows you to do that. So I couldn't place it here. So once again, you cannot place a shadow adjacent to other shadows like that. That would be illegal because it's within 1 movement. Nor can you place it adjacent, aka within 1 movement of a slayer, or actually a player. So this is a legal move because you can see there's, you know, 1, 2, 1, 2. It would take 2 movement to reach any of these other shadows, as well to reach her. So this is, you know, if I'm Dracula, I feel like I'm about to win the game because she's cornered in and things are going bad. I could potentially, you know, maybe put him and switch these out and gamble that she thinks you know, the player is going to assume that I probably put the Dracula Shadow the farthest, you know, the safest location. However, because the Dracula Shadow can move 2, it's the only one that can move 2 in a single stack. I could put it here, and if she was to stay put, which would be super unwise, if she was to stay here, then I would get to pounce on her, she'd lose the life automatically. Okay, so we've deployed the shadows, and boy, we're feeling pretty good. I've got 2 Ascents. I mean, I could deploy another trap to really put the screws to her, or to the Slayers in general. But, you know, like we saw with this Skeleton Archer, I think I'm going to hold on to my Essence. I'm going to save for maybe one more turn in case she hits the Summoning Circle or something like that, which as I've said, I can supercharge with some Essence to make it a tougher combat. Okay, and that's the end of Dracula's turn. He's got his shadows deployed. On the next turn, we'll actually be able to move them and, you know, manipulate them. It's going to be dangerous. Okay, so over to Yuriko's turn now. So once again, at the start of her turn and every player's turn, they're going to get to draw a card. What do we think here? I've been ignoring the Mind deck because really, you know, she doesn't have anything to cast spells right now, and I don't know. Let's go for the speed. Let's go for speed again. It's a trait. Oh man, this is a good one. This is actually quite a good one. It's a trait called Swift. It says your AR is increased by 1 for every speed card in your hand, calculated after playing cards in combat. So that's really good for her. Does she have any speed cards? She has 1 in her hand. So a card like that, a trait like that, paired with another trait that would expand your hand limit, and then you hold a bunch of speed cards, that would be quite powerful. So this trait does require you to do a little more math. This is a kind of a very unique card, so we're okay with that though. In the you know, it's going to give her more power, so we'll be okay with some math. She does have two traits equipped now. She's got Resourceful and Swift, so she can equip no more traits unless she equips one. So now that we've done her turn proper, what are we going to do? She's got to probably try to investigate one of these guys. That's really, you know, she could go on the run, but if she does, then she's in trouble. And honestly, I'm seeing, you know, had I placed Dracula here, I see now, because he can move 2, regardless if she was to investigate either one, because it's 2 movement away, he could have pounced on her. So that was a tactical mistake on my part. I took my hand off the gas, or foot off the gas. So that was a mistake. If this destroying the Slayers as quickly as possible is your objective, and boy should it be. So let's go and try to run. We'll go here. The Outer Cloister. A lot of curse cards coming up. It's got an event called it's got an event that is a curse icon. So here we go. They just want to prove that the name of the game is right. What are we going to get? Terrible Visage. Oh boy. Overwhelming fear encompasses your mind. Return to the castle entrance in an effort to escape. If occupied, place your character token on the nearest unoccupied room. So it's going to basically be a teleport for her, which is going to move her there, which is kind of good and also kind of bad because we know what's about to happen. So a second ago, I was second guessing my decision to put Dracula there, and you know, it's not so bad. It's not so bad. Now, we'll handle that in a second here. Okay, so that's an event that ends her turn. She's done. Now, Mr. Van Wessen, what do you got up your sleeve, buddy? Let's go for mind cards. We've been doing it all. Okay, it's a utility card that is applicable for casting spells. So we're gonna discard that because we haven't been focusing on mind cards with him, and we're gonna go back to the force, the tried and true force. The Grievous Greaves does a +3 AR and a -1 movement. There is not many items in the game that reduce your movement. However, for equipment for boots, +3 is about as good as it gets. So there's a drawback there. That's really tough for Van because he's got a movement of 3. You know, Yuriko has 5. So to move his movement down to 2 would be really suck. Let's see how many cards he has. So he's got 4 cards in his hand right now. He could transmute this and get a blood point, but there's not much for him to spend it on at the moment. So let's pocket those. Maybe we can, if we can somehow reconnect with Yuriko, somehow, some way, maybe put my hands together, then perhaps he can trade them to her like a good teammate. Okay, so we're gonna go. I mean, you can even see if I had equipped those boots, I couldn't even open a door. It would be 1, 2. So that, you know, I'm gonna open this door, but I do want to point out something that we haven't really talked about, which is like this door here, this blue door for this tile I placed earlier. You see how it dead ends? Yeah, you can't open that door, of course. So the only time you could open that door is if there's no other doors available on the floor. So if you're completely out of blue doors, which really should not happen, it would be an incredibly rare case. But if there's no blue doors left to open, you could open one like that, and you would place a staircase token, a blue staircase token here, and then on the table you would start a new segment of underground, and that staircase token just acts as a door. It's 1 movement, just like a door. Okay, so he's got 1 movement left. Let's go there, see what happens. The chasm. Okay, I'm gonna go like that. It's a fang icon, of course, which means Dracula gains an essence. He goes from 2 to 3. I'm moving the bat meeple off cam there. So one thing I'm trying to do here as Van is, which would be nice if it lined up, but you know, if I could get underground tiles to kind of circle back, because there is that open blue door there. So if I could get some good pulls, I could potentially, even though the underground crossroads is locked, I could work and wrap my way back around. Or maybe Yuriko could even come and help and try to dig me out, so to speak. Okay, so that was an event. Van's not going to equip those boots, and that's the end of his turn. Okay, back to Dracula. Dracula is going to go from 3 essence to 4 essence. So now the rich get richer. Things are going well for Dracula. I am going to take the top tile, since I've got in my hand, I've got 2 red tiles. Okay, but I can't play those because there's no red doors. So I'm gonna draw for free the top tile. It's gold, so I can play it. There's available gold doors. And it's the Herbarium, which is actually, it's a decent tile. So recall earlier I said that you can't place 2 Dracula tiles adjacent to each other like that. You can't connect them. I couldn't play it like, you know, I couldn't play it because we don't know what the door is. It might be a dead end, so there's no chance to play it like that. But because I'm playing this Dracula tile off of another legal door, that's totally okay. Okay, so he's got that placed down. I mean, it's looking scary for the Slayers here. So, you know what? Let's be super devious and break the game, because someone could totally do this as well. Dracula is actually, and I said this earlier, it's like a chess rule. You know, once I took my finger, if someone's at the table and they lay it down, don't let them walk it back. Don't you dare. You know what? Okay, we'll stick. I was gonna say that I could have, since there's a legal door here, I could have blocked off this underground entrance, thus negating that whole strategy I talked about a moment ago of Van circling back. So had I placed the Dracula tile here, it would have nullified that, and there would have been, you know, it would have blocked that door. So that would have been very devious indeed. Okay, so I've gained my essence, I've placed my tile. Now I must move my shadows, okay? Every turn the shadows must move. They cannot stand still. It's really quite irrelevant what happens with these guys, because we know that this one is the Dracula Legend shadow, the one with the portrait. And anytime this comes off the board, the other ones come off too. So in the sake of saving time, I don't need to move these because I already know what's going to happen. I'm going to pounce on Yuriko. She's going to lose 1 life. And automatically, and because Dracula came off the board, the Legend Shadow, the other shadows are coming off too. Next turn they'll be redeployed, and we, can do it all again. Cause some mayhem. Okay, so that was Dracula's turn. Now we're back to the top of the round. We're back to Yuriko. Okay, so Yuriko's turn. She's hating life right now. She's back to that one. Let's go for a speed card. She's got that swift trait, so she wants to hold as many as she can. It's a utility card. Now she's got 2 speed cards in her hand. Okay? Which, thanks to that trait, that's essentially an extra 2 AR for her. So let's see what we can do here. Creating as many avenues right now as possible might be the best move. It could backfire as well, but with 1 life, I don't really want to go explore something. So we're gonna go right here, and she is gonna cross her fingers. The Trapped Passage. Okay, the Trapped Passage is a fun one. It does have a pentagram icon, so we'll reference this sheet. Trapped Passage, let's see. Fall to the underground crossroads. There's no chance of recovering from that. Like you can't negate it with a speed card or anything like you can the Dracula trap pitfall. So she's gonna go join Van in the underground. It's gonna be a nice little hang sesh down there. She needs those boots, so not the worst thing. Not the worst thing. Okay. That was her turn. She fell to the underground crossroads. Van's turn. Let's go fast here. So Van's turn, we're gonna draw a force card. It's an attack. It's quite good. I think he's at 5 cards now. He is at 5 cards, so he's not gonna be able to hold any more cards in his hand unless something were to change. And he's gonna go right here. A lair. Ooh, fun. It's a tier 3 combat. So we're gonna burn this top card. Burn this till we find a tier 3. Did such a good job shuffling, guys. Did I? I didn't even shuffle really, I guess. Here we go. What happened? What's going on here? Don't tell me. What is going on? We're gonna, at this point, it's like a skit, Where is it, dude? Oh my god. Okay. That's my bad. I clearly didn't shuffle. Spectre. What do we got? It's an AR of 14, a soul value of 4, and it's got an ability called Bloody Mess. It says gain 2 blood points total upon defeating this monster. So should Van defeat the Spectre instead of 1 blood point, he's gonna get 2. It's an AR of 14, and that's pretty beefy, considering he's, let's see, in all that camera shenanigans, my stuff got messed up, it seems. So he's got 3, 6, 11. So he's sitting at 11, looks like. Yep. And so if I'm Dracula, I'm thinking to myself, dude, we can't let him beat this thing. We can't let him beat this thing. That's what I'm thinking if I'm Dracula. So Dracula, having 4 essence, is going to spend one of his essence. And now I'm going to play this monster soul. Okay, I'm going to play the skeleton archer. So from my soul well, the top card I can play for 1 essence. So I'm going to kind of tap it next to it, signifying that it's being added to the combat. It's got a soul value of 2. So the Spectre has a 14 AR plus a soul value of 2 from the skeleton archer. And boom, 16. So if Van can beat a 16, tie or beat a 16, then he will be victorious against the Spectre. Van has Swift Strike, which is a +3, so that puts him to 14, and Grapple +2. He's a lucky guy because that's all he had. So he literally met it on the nose. Now that's balance. That's what I call balance right there. So it's a 16. He's going to have to discard these. He did utilize them. He's going to gain 2 blood points for killing the monster because the Spectre has the ability Bloody Mess. And, hey now, and, sit down, boy. And so Dracula, because the Spectre was killed, he's going to reap its soul, put it in his soul well. One thing to note about the soul well is that Slayers aren't never able to look through your soul well and see like what cards are in there. Dracula can review it, but Slayers and players cannot. The Skeleton Archer that has soul was played, it's actually not going to go into a discard pile. Once a soul is played like that, it was defeated and then the soul was played, it's put in an out of game pile. So it is gone for the game, never to be seen again. Goodbye, Skeleton Archer. Okay, so Van, that worked out okay. He lost, his two cards there that he would have liked to hold on to, but he did get 2 blood points and he survived. However, there's always a push and pull, there's a balance to the force here because now Dracula has another soul and it's actually a soul value of 4. But Dracula did spend an essence, so, who knows? So, who knows how it'll play out, rather. So, okay, that is the end of Van's turn. He can't trade with Yuriko, his turn's over here, and that's that. Okay, now we're moving to Dracula's turn. He's going to gain 1 essence. He's going to do the same thing. I'm going to keep saying it over and over. So he's got 2 still of these red tiles in his hand that he can use at a later time. He's going to have to draw because he can't play those. The top one is blue. There are blue available doors. So he's going to take this in his hand and play it immediately. He must play it. And it's, oh my gosh, man, some good ones in the underground. There are good ones. There are bad ones too, though. It's a merchant. So another merchant popping out. So we will, let's, we talked about this door here. Let's block that path. Now he gets to put his shadows back out. So he's going to get to do that. Let's see where he wants to put these guys. He's faced with a decision on, does he want to put them up in the main castle and just try to stack them? Which probably would be the smartest play because with both Slayers trapped down here, he could stack all 4 quite easily. And that would be very deadly. I mean, that probably would be the end of the game for them. He'll be on the hunt. So he could do that, or he could maybe place one here and, with Yuriko only having 1 life, he might be able to take her out and turn her into a vampire. I think we're gonna play it super safe. And let's put a Dracula there. So this is another reason that 4 Slayers is really ideal. Even the game even accommodates 5 Slayers, is because with only 2, now they're both trapped in the underground. These shadows are gonna, run rampant. So Dracula's gonna fully manifest pretty soon here, it looks like. So that's his turn there. I have the ability to build some good stuff and maybe even work up to, so we've got, a hall built here. We could build a chamber. I'm not sure what's in shot. I'm gonna try to, it's all right. Let's see. I'm moving it up. So we've got the hall built. For 2 essence, we can build a chamber. For 3 essence, after we do that, we can build a spire. I'm gonna go for a shadow gate, which lets shadows potentially move through rooms not connected by doors. So, the shadows they can't move through blocked walls, but I'm gonna build the shadow gate thinking that maybe my shadow stack that I'm about to build needs to do that. So it costs 2 essence, there's 2 fangs there. I'm gonna build the shadow gate. I'm going from 4 to 2. Pull this back, because as much as I want it to stay in the shot, it can't. And there we go. So we've gained some essence, we've built a shadow gate, we've placed our tokens out, we placed a room. That's the end of Dracula's turn. Okay, so now we're back to the top of the round with Yuriko. So Yuriko is going to draw a card, of course. Let's see. We're just going to stick to the speed deck. It is the Spectral Shroud. It has an ability. It's an accessory. So she doesn't have an accessory currently equipped, so she can easily put that in one of her slots. It says it has an ability called Shadow Step, which says pass through unconnected room during movement for the cost of 1 blood point. So it's actually, oddly enough, synchronicity here, because Dracula built a shadow gate, which essentially gives his shadows the same ability. So very, very odd timing there for sure. So let's go ahead and equip that. Let's see what's in shot here. Not everything I want, that's for sure. Okay, so she's got 2 traits, 2 items. She's got her glaive and her accessory, which is a Spectral Shroud. She needs those boots. She's gonna talk to Van to do some table talk and say, please give me those boots. And they're gonna agree. So she'll move down within synergy range, which actually is adjacent. It's 1 movement. So earlier I moved Van to her, but I didn't have to do that. As long as you're within synergy range, you're fine. And actually, her synergy range is increased due to the trait Resourceful, so she could have actually traded even farther. So she's gonna, they're gonna do some negotiating about what cards they're gonna trade. He's gonna give her the boots. She's gonna give him teleport. And everybody's happy. Now, when you die and you become a vampire, you do get to keep 1 item, and so, in some cases even more. So there's a chance you could be helping your enemy. So, if Yuriko was to turn into a vampire momentarily, he might regret giving her these boots. So let's actually go ahead and stack these with the Spectral Shroud to save room. So it's a +3 AR. So we're going up 1, 2, 3. She's now a base 12 AR. She's got a movement of 5 base. The boots do -1, so she is now at 4 max movement. We don't have like a movement tracker, because items that affect your movement are incredibly limited. I mean, I think there's only like 1 or 2 in the game, so it's very rare that happens. Okay, so let's see what happens now, shall we? So she has traded, which is not an event. It's totally fine. She can keep moving. She's going to open this door down here. Oh, it's out of shot, isn't it? We don't like that. We want it in shot. Excuse me, Van. We're going to actually say that, and this would have been much smarter anyway, she could have received Van's team synergy. So she's on the underground lake. It's got a tier 2 icon. We burned through about 40 tier 2s, it felt like a minute ago. Wow. Okay. You see, I just went off the cuff with this. I just wanted to give you guys a look through of the game. I didn't, I wasn't fully planning on doing a full playthrough, but I'm having fun. So let's keep going. So I'm going to shuffle. I try not to bin the beautiful cards. Do a very quick shuffle. I was never a dealer in Vegas, so, not exactly my forte. Okay. Tier 2's on top after shuffling. It's a tier 2, so we're going to draw it. The Plate Lord. Oh boy. He's got an AR of 15, a soul value of 4. He's got an ability called Knight's Regalia, which says, if you defeat this monster, search the force deck for the next body, helm, or boots item card. Oof. That's lovely. She wants that, don't you think? So he's got a 15. Let's compare and see what's going on here. So she's got a base AR of 12. She also has the Swift trait, which for any cards in her hand that she doesn't play during the combat, any speed cards, it's going to increase her AR by 1. Once again, that's the mathy trait. It's very rare, but it came up for us, so we're going to roll with it. So once again, your AR is increased by 1 for every speed card in your hand, calculated after playing cards in combat. So she's got 2 speed cards. They're not attack. Oh well, one's an attack, but she's not going to use it. She's going to hold on to it. Let's see if we need it. So she's got a 12 plus an additional 2, okay, from the Swift trait. So she's at 14. She's also got 2 from Van, putting her at 16. Dracula is going to, he knows how pivotal this fight is, you know, because she's got 1 life, and if she beats him, she's going to get a nice item from the, I mean, it could be an incredible item from the force deck. So we don't want that. So Dracula's going to spend an essence. He's going to play the monster soul. Going to tap it to the side. So now that 15 becomes a 19. The Spectre has a soul value of 4. The Plate Lord has an AR of 15. 15 plus 4 equals 19. She must beat or equal a 19 in order to overcome this monster, lest she die. So, once again, let's go back to her. So she's got that 12, 14, 16. It's not going to happen. So she's got to beat 19 once again. She does have an ability called Windwalk. She has an attack called Windwalk. However, if she plays this card, it's going to reduce her Swift trait down 1. So once again, I know that one's mathy. It's mathy, but it's an interesting dynamic here, because if she was to play this card, it would actually reduce her down to 15, putting her at, and then use this card, it would put her at an 18, thus still losing. So no matter what, Yuriko is falling in the underground. As my friend likes to do. Anytime someone's defeated in a game, he likes to make that sound. I did not do it justice, so forgive me for that. Kind of like a Mortal Kombat, you've been defeated, like end of round sound. I have to describe it because my rendition was so bad. So let's go ahead and handle the turning. First, we'll handle these monsters. So the Spectre was played in combat. So regardless if the monster wins or loses whenever you play a soul, it's going to the out of game pile. So bye-bye Spectre. But boy, did it come in handy. See, I mean, think about this earlier. If Van hadn't killed that Spectre, Dracula wouldn't have had the Spectre to play on Yuriko, which would have, you know, I mean, there's so many ramifications to everything. And once again, we're looking at balance here. I mean, it came down to one AR. So I like it. Really tense moments, close calls. Plate Lord, because he was not defeated, is going to go to the discard pile. The new discard pile after we shuffled. Yuriko is going to remove her character token. Goodbye, Yuriko. Just for now. She's going to lose her next turn, and then on her next turn, we'll handle her actually transforming into a vampire. For now, she's going to take her card. She can go ahead and flip. We'll handle this all on her next turn. I was so excited to do the transformation and show you guys that I jumped the gun. Okay, so now it's Van's turn. He is going to shed a bloody tear, but hopefully not too bloody, for Yuriko, and hope that he can carry the torch for the Slayer team. So he is going to, he's got 2 life, he's got 2 blood points. Let's get it. He's going to start by drawing a force card at the beginning of his turn. It's another utility card. Damn it. Okay. He's kind of coming up short on some of these draws. So he's going to move here so we can keep it in shot. And actually, he may work his way back. The Reservoir. There you go for Van Wessen. He's at the reservoir. It's got a fang icon. Dracula gains an essence. It's all going well for Dracula now. Okay, and with that, we're going to head to Dracula's turn. So Dracula is going to again gain an essence. And man, I think I'm going to build a spire in a second here. So I'm going to say this every turn, but right now, all he has in his hand are these 2 red cards, these 2 red rooms, meaning since he has to play one, he gets a free draw. On top of that deck is a blue one, is an underground. So he's going to go ahead and play that. And he's going to shove it. Let's see what it is. The Labyrinth, it's a mind challenge. He's going to play it right there. Seeing that Van probably is trying to come back to the entrance, let's do some control there, some little strategizing, and shut him down. From there, we're going to stack, or we're going to manipulate our shadows, and we're going to have some fun with that. So it's just this easy. When there's no Slayers around, no problem. So now you can see we're starting to build his visage, and with no Slayers around, it is not going well. When Dracula's, left alone to his own devices, he's going to be nefarious, and he's going to be able to stack so easily, no problem. So he's got 3 shadows in his stack, meaning he's got, I'm going to flip this up. We're at 3 essence. So keep in mind, once again, that all the shadows coordinate here to the cloak card, and this tells you what abilities you have for each shadow in the stack. Because there's 3 in the stack currently, he has the abilities not only from the 3 stack, but also the 2 and the 1. The 3 stack is where it starts to get tough. 1 and 2, but 3 and 4, once he's fully manifested, he's got an AR-25, he gets Fireball, he gets Regenerate. He is tough to deal with. So good luck, Van Wessen. And so keep in mind, once again, the shadows can move 1 room for every shadow in the stack. Before Dracula's turn ends, let's go ahead and build a spire. These beautiful guys here, these triangle shapes, the top of the keep. So right here, I'm moving it up into shot for you. So I've already got a plan. I know what I want to do. Let's build the Grim Spire for 3 essence. We have 3 essence on the number, so 1, 2, 3. We're going to build the Grim Spire, and what the Grim Spire is going to allow us to do is it's a passive. So it says it on the back here. Every monster in the entire castle is +3 AR. Woof. That's not good. That's not good. And this is, I'm going to continue to harp on the, you really got to get that game night going. You need some more Slayers, really, because if Dracula is having to spend his resources elsewhere, he may not have had enough essence to do that for quite some time if he was, having to spend it on deploying traps or in other ways to stop the Slayers. So he's got the Grim Spire built, and he is just on autopilot, really. No problem. No problem. Love it. Love it. Love it. So that's the end of Dracula's turn. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't move this one. So let's move this guy here. And then next turn we'll be able to stack. So once again, when shadows enter rooms with other shadows, they must stack. If a shadow enters a room if a shadow enters a room of a shadow or a shadow stack, and it stacks, that stack can no longer act. So for instance, let's say the turn started like this, and they hadn't moved it all yet. If I went like this, the movement for the whole stack is over. They're done. They're done. That shadow stack cannot act or move. So when you stack on a shadow, it consumes both its movement and its action. Okay? So we are done with Dracula, and now we're moving and dealing with Yuriko's transformation. Okay, so when a player dies, they're going to Oh, I didn't take that heart away. What? Goodbye, heart. So when a player dies, they're going to lose their next turn, but during that turn, they're going to have a few decisions to make. So first things first, we're going to flip Yuriko's character token to its vampire side. She's the only vampire that doesn't have bloody tears because she's already a half vampire. So we're going to move it, flip it to her vampire side though. She does have a little bit different art though. We're going to flip her character card to its vampire side. You'll note now that she has new values. She's got a base AR of 7 as a vampire, whereas her Slayer AR was 3. She still has a movement of 5 on spot for the lore because, you know, she's half vampire. And she has her vampire character feature is a +2 AR versus all monsters. Okay, so once again, she's kind of got home field advantage because she's Dracula's half. She's his daughter. Okay, beyond that, she can keep one weapon or one card. Excuse me. So she can choose any card she wants. She could keep a trait, this glaive, etc. I think we will keep the glaive, and let's hold on to that. So we're going to get rid of absolutely everything except the glaive, and the subclass she purchased is gone now. So we're going to flip those over so everything gets flipped over. Her character card, her character token, and her subclasses. Those are all getting flipped over to the vampire side. Okay? So now she can begin, if she gets the blood points, she can start to, flipped them the wrong way. Little flippy do there. So if she gets the blood points, which are easy for vampires to farm, and I'll talk about that in a second, but she can then buy the vampire subclasses. They start at the same cost as the Slayers, and it resets. So 3 blood points for the first one, 5 blood points for the second one, 7 blood points for the third one. Okay? These cards that she had, that she chose not to keep, they're going in the discard piles for their appropriate card types. Boom. So that is essentially handling her right now. We've got her all set up for her next turn. At the start of her next turn, she's going to draw a vampire quest card, and she's going to be placed back onto the castle entrance. And we'll see what team she joins. Okay, so we've dealt with her transformation. Now we've got Van down in the underground still. Oh, poor Mr. Wesson. He is getting tired of being here, so he's going to roll the dice and try to connect back. He's going to roll the dice. I actually don't even remember what I put down there. So, first things first. Let's draw. Let's keep harping on that 4 stack. Some characters like Jess Wesson and others, if you start on the mine deck, it's easier. But since I started with force, and I'm gonna stay. Wow, he just is getting. So he's got 5 total cards. With that one, it's a utility card. I'm going to discard, and I'm going to draw, because I was talking shite on the mine deck. I'm going to draw 1 from that, using his character feature. Aha! A consumable. The Potion of Intelligence. It says, play any card except traits, items, and consumables, then discard this card and keep the played card in hand. So this is a way to basically duplicate like a really strong attack card. So, if you're in combat and you've got this consumable, if you play like a really strong attack and you've used this Potion of Intelligence, you get to keep the attack card. Very nice. Very, very nice. So we'll tuck that away. That's a really good thing to have in your back pocket. So let's go ahead and open this. Oh God, yes, of course. It was the Labyrinth. And almost like divine intervention here, in a way. Divine something. It all synced up. So the Labyrinth has a mind icon here. It's a yellow brain that matches the icon on this card, okay, on the mind cards. So those are challenges. Anytime you encounter a challenge in the castle, all you have to do to overcome the challenge is discard a card of that type. So for a force challenge, you would discard the bicep. For a speed challenge, you discard the boot card, any boot card. And then for a mind challenge, you would discard a mind card. Otherwise, you take 1 life worth of damage. So I was very excited for him to get this mind card, but thank the Lord, or thank whatever the opposite of Dracula is, that we have it, because now we can use it to pass and succeed the Labyrinth Mind Challenge. And indeed we will. So we're gonna discard this mind card. Rather than losing 1 life, we're gonna pass the challenge. It's a yellow icon, meaning it's an event, and that's gonna end Van's turn, okay? So, now, back to Dracula at the end of the round here. Dracula is gonna go up. He just built the Grimspire, so he was at 0 essence. He's gonna go up to 1 essence with the Bat Meeple there. And do you want me to say it again about these? I'm gonna harp on it over and over. He's got 2 red tiles in his hand. This is on top. He must play, and indeed he will. He'll grab it. And let's see what it is. The Catacombs. I'm gonna block it again. And I'm glad I illustrated this rule earlier, so you don't call me a cheater. We've got a legal door placement here. This one's got 2 legal doors on it, so it's totally fine. Okay, so let's kill Van Wesson, shall we? So now that we've done that, we are going to, of course, stack our Dracula token, and I am gonna take a second to actually do it proper. It's like, man, I was like a bad kid in a movie theater. I just had my phone ring mid shot. So if you're on the table, you can see it better, of course. But boom, Dracula is fully formed. This is a terrible development for Van. It's got this 4 shadow stack, can do all sorts of things, including launching a fireball. It's got an AR of 25. It cannot be removed, whereas under a 4 shadow stack, when Dracula's not fully manifested, you can get rid of the whole stack. But the only way to get rid of a fully formed Dracula stack is by defeating that 25 AR in combat, by tying or above. So, big news, and the news is bad. So there we go. As I illustrated earlier, because we stacked onto this, we used 1 shadow to enter this room, causing it to stack. That consumed the stack's entire movement and actions for the turn. So he has that shadow stack. It took that whole turn to basically fully manifest, if you will. Okay, and that's Dracula's turn. All right, now back to Yuriko, who is going to begin her vampire life, her full vampire life. So she's gonna go onto the castle entrance right here. Whenever you respawn as a vampire, you always go onto this castle entrance, that corner piece with the steps. She's going to draw a vampire quest card. Let me make sure I shuffle these good here, because otherwise it's not gonna be great. Okay. I don't want another mishap like the combat deck. All right, so now at the beginning of her turn, she's going to draw. What do we get? Join Slayers. So this isn't, the odds are that she was going to join Team Dracula, but she is going to be on the Slayer team. And Dracula does not have to defeat her for a victory, okay? So it actually says on the card, it says Join Slayers, and then it says, you win if Dracula is defeated, but Dracula does not need to defeat you to win. You must keep this card secret unless an ability compels you to reveal. So I can tell Van, I can tell Dracula just about anything I want about this card, but I don't have to show it unless something compels me to reveal, which there are some ways, Dracula has one in his arsenal and stuff to make that happen. So we're gonna put this right here by Yuriko. She's got her secret quest now. She's she's destined to kill her father, or determined rather to kill her father and help Van. Rather fitting for Yuriko, since she already was a vampire at the beginning of the game, essentially. And after drawing her vampire quest card, she's going to begin the game as normal. So she's going to, or not begin the game, but she's going to begin her turn as normal. So just like a Slayer, she's going to get to draw a card. It's a fantastic utility card. So this actually, it's Smoke Bomb, and it's quite good. It says, pick up your character token and lose your next turn. At the start of your following turn, place your token on an unoccupied room on the same floor. So if Dracula, let's say, was chasing you to a corner, then you Smoke Bomb, you could appear somewhere else and, you know, buy some time. So that's quite good for her and for Van, for any player, really. Now, a great thing to know about vampires, and I said this a minute ago, is they can get blood points rather easily. So they are able to, whenever they uncover or explore, whenever they explore a Dracula tile, they gain 1 blood point. They feed on the room's dark energy, and they gain a blood point just for exploring the room. They still have to, anything the room does, they have to still, you know, act it out, essentially. So if it's a combat, if it's this, if it's that, all the room events are still, they still have to resolve them like a Slayer would. However, once again, they get a blood point just for uncovering a room. Additionally, the only other difference really between a vampire and a Slayer is that 1 blood point thing. And I'm sorry, I need to give her 3 life. So when you respawn, you get 3 life. And keep in mind, if she was to lose all her life, she'd be out of the game completely. Okay, so there's no vampire again. Once you die as a Slayer, then die as a vampire, you're out of the game. So the only other difference, other than the way she can feed on the root of the Dracula tile's dark energy, is that if she were to defeat another player in combat, whether it's a vampire or a Slayer, that Slayer would still lose a life in combat, of course, but the vampire actually gains a life. They suck the blood and they life leech, gain a life from defeating another player in combat. So, knowing now that, of course, we are, you know, we're trying to help the Slayers, we're trying to help the Slayers, we're on Team Slayer, we're gonna try to find the Grand Staircase, finally. So, I mean, these Slayers, they needed to get to work. And not only is she gonna attempt to do so over here, she's gonna get a blood point just for doing so. So let's get it. Oh no. It's the Poison Garden. The one I was harping on earlier. I kind of thought that was the Grand Staircase, actually. So once again, we've got a challenge here. It's an icon with a bicep, okay? The white icon denotes a persistent challenge, right? So in order to succeed a challenge, you must discard a card of that type. It's a force card, or it's a force icon. So if she could discard a force icon, she could forgo losing a life to this. However, she does not have one. So she's gonna lose a life from the Poison Garden, and then she is going to gain a blood point for feeding on the room's dark energy. So it actually, on this backside of the pentagram sheet that flew out of my hands earlier, so it does, of course, have them organized the same way and alphabetized by floor as well. So we'll find the main floor. This was a Dracula tile, so this is the Dracula side of the pentagram sheet. It's red. And on the main floor, you'll see Poison Garden. And it says, Force Challenge Persistent. Lose 1 life each time you enter this room. Otherwise, fail the challenge. Okay? So that's what's going to happen right now. Yuriko is not very happy about that, but she's gonna end her turn there and lick her wounds and decide what she's gonna do. All right, on to Van. So he's going to gain or draw a card. What are we doing? Ooh, a pretty good attack card. +4, Fell Strike. How's his hand looking? I think we might be at the limit here. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, he's hovering around it. So he's got 5 cards in his hand right now. And, oof. If I was truly playing, and I was Van, I think I'd go over here and avoid this Dracula tiles, but let's keep it in shot, shall we? Let's keep it in shot. And honestly, I don't even remember. I'm playing 3 characters right now, so I don't even remember what this one is. So we're gonna open this door. The Chasm. It's a curse card. Curse icon, meaning draw a curse card. And so let's go ahead and do that now. He's gonna move into the room, of course. He's gonna draw a curse card. Succubus Whispers. Ooh. You hear the faint taunting of a beautiful vampire. Of beautiful vampiric creatures. They reach out for you to join them. The player is transported to an unoccupied room chosen by Dracula on your current floor. Otherwise, discard a mind card to fight at your current location. So, we could discard a mind card to basically shake off these succubus whispers, meaning we would then enter combat with the succubus. Otherwise, if we can't discard a mind card or we choose not to, Dracula gets to choose where we're gonna go on our floor. So, ouch. Where's Dracula gonna put you, Van? Honestly, you know, in most games, depending on where you're at in the game, I would say, you know, Dracula might want to put him all the way over here. You know, maybe as far off as he can. He can't place him on any unexplored rooms, of course. So he would put him maybe way over here, and that way he had more time to focus down other players. But being that he is in such a commanding position, I think I'm not too worried about Van right now. I mean, honestly, I want him closer. We're fully formed, and we can hop on him at any second. So that's actually quite a good card for Dracula if a player draws that curse card, but not super applicable in this situation where we're kind of in this danger zone for the Slayers. They're on their last leg, so to speak. So I'm going to I'll just move him right here. Just move him right there. So now around to Dracula. He's gonna gain an essence. He's got 2 red in his hand. Top one's red. He's getting free draws. His hand is just getting huge. Oh, these were shuffled good. Look at this. Make sure you shuffle them, guys and gals, and anyone else. So he got all those. I mean, his hand now is, you know, insane. So when the Slayers get to the upper keep, oh boy, he has, you know, pick of the litter, so to speak. I mean, he could play just about anything he wants, and that's a reason to kind of, you know, not waffle about. You want, you know, if you're a Slayer, you do want to find the upper staircase, or excuse me, the grand staircase, and you want to get moving a bit, because the longer you take to find his throne room, the more dangerous he might become. So we drew all those red ones. Then there was an underground. I'm gonna just place it over here. Probably out of shot, but that's okay. All right, and with that, we are gonna do some fun stuff now. So the fully manifested Dracula, he's not really worried about Yuriko by any means, because he doesn't have to kill her to win the game. He only has to defeat all the Slayers. Even though, once again, she has this Join Slayers card, it says specifically on it that Dracula does not have to defeat you to achieve victory. Only the Slayers, the original Slayers. So, we've got a tricky move here. We've got the Shadow Gate we built earlier. So this was one of the rooms we built on the keep. The Shadow Gate, this gentleman right here, which says, shadows may move between rooms not connected by doors, max 1 per turn. So if Dracula wanted to come around, he would have to kind of walk, so to speak. He'd have to make the walk. we're not going to do that. Let's hop on our boy Van Wesson. Let's go 1, 2. There's no door connected. We can't do it. However, we have the Shadow Gate built, so we can spend 1 essence to cross through the wall and engage Van in combat. Let's do that. Oh boy. I wish I had a camera down at like eye level so you could see it from that perspective. Let's do some combat now. So AR for a fully formed Dracula, according to the cloak card. Once again, down here, it shows 4 shadows in the stack, 25 AR. Really, I could have walked over here and just shot a fireball. It has a max range of 3 direct line of sight, but let's hop on him and let's beat him senseless. So Dracula's got an AR of 25, Van doesn't. He does have a number of cards. Let's see if he's got anything that can get him out of this. Nope. So, you know, he does have Fell Strike he just got. It's a good attack, but it's not going to get him anywhere close to beating a 25 AR. So, you know, it would just be a wasted card. So he's going to hold on to that in hopes that it becomes relevant for him. Dracula has an AR of 25. He is victorious against Van. He's going to Van loses a life, and now Dracula is sitting on the labyrinth with Van, ready to, well, just end the game, essentially. Okay, we're back after some technical difficulties there. So let's get into this, what could be the end of the game. Let's find out together. So one thing of note, rules-wise, which is that Van is starting in a room with the fully formed, fully manifested Dracula. Not a good place to be by any means. So one thing that needs to be clarified is that in Dracula's Curse, there are no attacks of opportunity. Most everything happens when you enter a room, not when you're exiting a room. So for that purpose, if Van is to move away here, he's not going to proc any sort of attack of opportunity. Likewise, if he was to start in a room with a vampire or vice versa, there's going to be no attack of opportunity. The player can move away freely. However, if Van so chose, he could engage the Dracula in combat right now. And if he could get 25 AR or beat that, he could cause Dracula to lose a life and remove this whole stack from the board. So, you know, there's a lot that can happen, but let's see what unfolds here. So I'm going to draw a speed card. He needs something good. Okay, the revolver. It's a really good weapon. It's got an ability called Speed Loader, which is quite good indeed. It costs 1 blood point, and it gives +3 AR for a single combat encounter. That includes multi-phase combat encounters, which we didn't get into this game, but the final combat with Dracula is a multi-phase combat, and there's some in the deck and everything. So it's +3 AR for the cost of 1 blood point for a single combat, if he was to use this ability. So this is a great weapon. It's +3 AR and only one-handed. So we're gonna unequip the Titan's Cleaver. We're gonna equip the revolver. We're going to transmute the Titan Cleaver immediately, trying to get as much gas as we can. And, you know, to be honest, the blood point's probably not gonna help us, nor is the revolver, but, you know, we're gonna literally go out shooting. We're going down in a hail of gunfire, because we are not gonna go up easily. We're not gonna give up easily. So, let's see if Van can escape the situation. He also has an ability on his boots that lets him move an additional 2 rooms. So we're gonna go 1, 2, 3. Man, he's got some good stuff. He's got... The teleport card ends your movement for the turn if you use it. So we've been holding on to that teleport for so long. You know what, let's go ahead and let's burn it now. If not now, when? So we're gonna burn the teleport. It's a mine card. We're gonna discard it. It lets us move an additional 3 rooms. 1, 2, 3. We're gonna go hide up in the nest. Oops. We're gonna go hide up in the nest and hope that Dracula malfunctions somehow. So that's gonna be our turn. Moving on to Dracula's turn, he's gonna gain an essence. He's gonna place again one of the, he doesn't have any undergrounds in his hand, so he's gonna draw one. he would place it over here. It'll be a little off camera, so I'll just set it to the side right here for now, knowing what's about to happen. Dracula can move one room for each shadow in the stack. So he's gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4. He's hunting, he's hunting, he's on the hunt. Let the hunt begin. And he's now looking at Van Wessen, and guess what he's about to do? He's gonna reference his shadow cloak here that guides his abilities. When you have 4 shadows in one stack, when you're in the fully formed Dracula, you're gonna open up the ability Fireball. Fireball says, launch a fireball at a target player within 3 rooms, must be direct line of sight. If a player is hit, they lose 1 life. Dracula's going to launch a fireball, just like the game trailer. It's gonna blow Van away, quite literally, with his final health here, and that is going to be the end of Van Wessen on this run. So Dracula is victorious.
All too easy.
That was a lot of fun. Even though I knew I was Jaegering all 3, I got to, I still, there was some suspense and there was a lot going on. It was a very fun game. I feel like the Slayers got a little unlucky here and there. Van did not actually get a subclass. He really didn't get a lot of mojo going on. And, I think the most pivotal moment of the game was probably when Yuriko got dropped to the underground, because they were both down there, and that allowed Dracula the freedom to get in his 4 stack. And, at that point, you're toast if you don't have the kit to deal with it. So, if Van had been able to get up to 25 AR with cards and equipment, or Yuriko, they could have dismantled this stack and then caused Dracula to have to reform it and restack it, and that would have bought them numerous turns, and they could have potentially interrupted that process anyway. So, that, I think dropping to the underground was a huge swing, especially with only 2 Slayers. If there was more Slayers, it seems like with the way things were going that they had enough steam to probably get to his throne room and defeat him. But, there's a lot of RNG in the game. I mean, even just the Vampire Quest card for Yuriko, she joined the Slayers team, but had she got the RNG here, had she joined Dracula, there's a chance that she was able to grind up a bit, and even if there were more Slayers, put a kink in their plan. So there's so much swings that can happen. As well, we didn't really tap into the Mind deck. There's so many good cards in the Mind deck that are just like, the Ancestral Robes, what else we got here? We got so many spells, Circlet. There are really good ones. Oh, the Frostbinder, a great staff. There's Glass Slippers, Holy Water. You need that against a vampire. Every card is just, there's so many good things in every deck. The Grimoire is in the Mind deck as well. There's a lot of tools in your kit to try to stop Dracula. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. So I had a blast, and I appreciate you joining me for that playthrough. It was a lot of fun. Okay, and let's do a little revisionist history here and see what would happen in a final confrontation with Dracula. This could be considered an alternate timeline. We already have Raiden in the game, or Raiden in lore, who is from another timeline. So this fits in perfectly. He's got some awesome lore. I would check it out. So we've got Dracula set up, kind of in pursuit. Van has been able to make his way up the grand staircase to the Ascent tile. We've kitted him out with some stuff here. He's got a plate helm, Vampire Slayer mail, a revolver, and rogue boots. Okay? So he's kitted out, he's ready to go. He's hoping he can take on Dracula. Likewise, we've got Dracula set up here. He's got his soul well. I just kind of grabbed some random cards, so I don't know who's going to win the final fight, but we're going to find out together. So there's 2 things, there's one thing that's very important to note, and we've already talked about it quite a bit, but the grand staircase is one of the most important rooms in Dracula's Curse. It's going to be how Slayers are going to be able to get up to the upper keep, all the red doors. As you search the red doors and explore, you're going to be looking for the Ascent tile, okay? Once you find the Ascent tile and a player decides, hey, I'm going to move into the throne room, the keep is actually going to slot onto the castle. Oh, so cool. So, you know, if you don't have table space for the keep, you know, if it builds in a way that you can't slot it on, you can just add a staircase token, a red staircase token, to show that it's connected there. But, you know, hopefully you can actually get it slotted on because, oh, it's oh so satisfying. So, now that Van's in position, if he moves into this throne room, let's say he has extra movement here and he can go, it's going to force a confrontation with Dracula. Dracula has no choice but to fight once Van reaches his throne room. So, anytime a player enters the throne room, it's going to remove all the shadows from the board, essentially pulling him into the throne room. So it's going to pull him into the throne room. Should Van actually lose this fight, he's going to die no matter what, no matter how much remaining life he has. A player that faces Dracula in the throne room confrontation is going to die. So if it's a Slayer, they're gonna, you know, go through the whole thing of transforming into a vampire. They're gonna lose their next turn, then start on the castle entrance with the vampire quest card, etc. If it's a vampire player and they lose, regardless of how much life they have, they're dead and out of the game. So once you're in the throne room, you're gonna force combat, and combat begins immediately. I will say as well, if you have any Slayers on the Ascent tile, they are able to confer you team synergy as well. For every Slayer you have on the Ascent tile, it's an additional +2 AR. So it does behoove you to have allies in striking range, but you must face Dracula alone. So Dracula is going to be fought in 2 different phases if you can get through his first phase. You're going to turn the cloak card over, which I've already done, but so obviously this is the shadow side. You know, it's got the essence tracker on the bottom. So let's just say, oh, you know, he had 4 essence when Van entered the throne room. So once you flip it over, there's an essence tracker on the backside as well. You're going to immediately place the meeple on there because that might come into play in a moment. As well, you're going to notate how much life Dracula has remaining. He starts the game with 5, of course. And it's very simple. So his first form is going to be aligned to how much life he has. So there's life icons here, or life hearts right here, and next to that are the AR icons. And so you just match up how much life he has currently at the moment with how much life his AR will be. So he's got 3 life remaining. He's going to be a 27 AR. Okay? So if Van can if he can meet or beat a 27 AR, he's going to beat Dracula's first form, okay? If he does that, we'll move on to the next, let's hope he does it, because we need to move on to the next phase, the final phase, but let's first see if he can overcome that. So I gave him a hand of 5 cards as well. Like I said, he's got these items. So the plate helm, you know, I've already totaled this up, but he's got 16 AR total for his current equipage, okay? Meaning he needs 11 more. So once again, 3 life total coordinates with 27 AR. So he wants to do this with using as little resources as possible because he doesn't know what he's going to have to face in the final form. So he's got 16, he needs 11. So we've got thrust, we've got crosscut, and we've got vertical slash. So crosscut and vertical slash are both +4 AR. That's 8, +3 for thrust. That's 11. 16 plus 11 is 27. And just like that, Van has defeated Dracula's first form. Don't tell anyone I made that sound after you watch this video, please. Okay, so he's defeated his first form. Perfect, that's great. So those cards that Van just used, they're discarded, of course, leaving him only with 2 cards. That's not great, but he does have some blood points at his disposal. So, and he also has the Ranger subclass. So let's see, we don't know, I honestly don't know what is in here, but the way his final form, Dracula's final form, is going to take shape is it's going to be all the monsters in his soul well added up by soul value. So you're simply going to add the soul values of every monster he has in his soul well, okay? So 3, 4, 3, and so on and so forth. Additionally, Dracula is going to get to draw additional monster souls based on his current essence. So you've got a handy guide here. So, you know, whereas the first form was all about how much current health Dracula has, the second form is all about how much current essence he has. So he's got 4 current essence. At 2+ essence, he gets to draw 1 new soul. At 4+ essence, he gets to draw 2 souls. At 6+ essence, he'd get to draw 3 souls. So that means Dracula's going to get to draw 2 souls, and there's a lot of RNG to that because, you know, some soul values could be as low as 0. There's like some in there that are really not going to help him, and some could be very high. So that's quite a bit of RNG. And it leads to some suspense with the final battle where, you know, the Slayers already don't know what the soul values are. Dracula could add them up before, but, you know, of course he doesn't know what cards they have, etc. So let's go ahead and add these up. I'm not going to count them by the soul value. I'll just add them as we go. 3, 7, 10, 12, 15, 18, 21, 25, 28. That's a lot. That's a lot because we don't know what he's about to draw. So for Van's sake, he's hoping for like nothing. He's going to get this soul, the Crypt Crawler. It's a 4 soul value. So he was at 28. So now he's at 32. We'll tap it to the side because we want to, in case Van loses, we want to make sure that these extra soul cards are discarded. Everything after the battle, if Van loses, will go back into its previous state. And I'll talk about that in a second. He gets 1 more soul. An Evil Priest. Oh my, that's good. So it's, oh no, 28, 32, 36 total AR for Dracula. And if Van can beat it, he will go ahead and win the game. So let's see if somehow, some way he can get there. I think he's going to fall short. So he's got some tools in his kit. Let's start up. So he's got 16 AR base. He's got the subclass called Ranger, and it has an ability called Fanning, as in fanning the hammer of a pistol. And it says play an attack card twice in combat. So it allows you to basically duplicate a card you played, an attack card. You know, and they do say, of course, attack at the bottom. It does say attack. So Van is at 16. He's going to play Meteor Strike, but he's going to spend that 1 blood point to use the ability Fanning, making that a 10. So he's doubling the value of the card. So it's +5. Now it's 10. Okay? He's already used Fanning. He can't use that again. If he had used Fanning in the first phase, he couldn't use it in the second phase. So that is a good thing that he was able to get by easily on that one at least. So he's at 16, now +10, 26. It's not looking good. He's got 1 card left in his arsenal here. It is pay 1 blood point to double the AR of this card. It's Twin Strike, okay? So it's a +3 AR, but he can spend 1 blood point to double the AR of the card. So now he's at 32. Oh my gosh. Oh, wow. I forgot what Dracula was now. He's at 32. And then finally, he's got 1 blood point left. He's got Speed Loader, the ability on the revolver. Oh my gosh, is this really going to work out like this? He's got Speed Loader. It's 1 blood point, and it does +3 AR. So that puts him at 35. Good God, what did I say? I don't even know. You guys probably remember better than I do. I'm trying to juggle everything, including hanging out with y'all and talking to you. So let's recount them again. Van's at 35, just to double check. 3, 7, 10, 13, 16, 18, 21, 25, 28, 32, 36. No! No! Dracula wins again. Oh, and Van is dead. Wow. Oh my God, that was so close. Okay, so because Van died, he actually doesn't go. He's gonna flip to his vampire side. He's gonna do all that, all that whole thing. No matter how much life he had left, he's gonna lose it. He's gonna flip to his vampire side. He's gonna lose his next turn. Then he'll start on the castle entrance. That's if there's other slayers in the castle. If he was the last one, oh, it's game over, baby. So let's say there are other slayers. Let's say Yuriko was still an original slayer and not turned to a vampire. We're going to put everything back into its original form. So the castle keep can stay connected. If you need the table space, like I said, you can unhook it and then do a staircase token. We'll just leave it for now, though. Dracula is going to... everything will stay the same. So it really was like no consequence to Dracula. So, Van did kill him in his, beat him in his first phase. So one heart gone. But Dracula did then essentially suck his blood at the end of the battle, basically nullifying that damage loss. So that life loss. So he's going to stay at where he was. His essence is going to stay at where it was. It's 4. We're going to flip this back over. Boom. On the next turn, Dracula is going to be able to replace his shadows under normal placement rules, and then the game will continue. For these cards he drew for his final form there, final phase, they're going to go into the discard pile. Okay? So the Slayers did get one, out of it was a stunning blow. I mean, a stunning defeat, really. I mean, losing by 1 AR, ouch. And so the Slayers gained an important piece of intel. They now know how much soul values Dracula has in his soul well. So that's a good piece of intel that Van was able to get for him by getting to the second phase. But a devastating morale loss, and it's unlikely the Slayers will recover. I know me personally, it's going to take me a while to recover. So I am so grateful you joined us on this journey to Dracula's castle. Thanks for hanging out with me, and we'll see you in the castle.